Hello and welcome to Vtuber Talk. I'm your host Jay, and thank you so much for joining us today, whether it is morning, afternoon, night, or 1 a.m. Vtuber Talk is designed after classic late night talk shows. Everything here is live, casual, and the goal is to simply have fun conversations that will entertain people who are familiar with the guest while still being accessible for new fans. So welcome in, everybody. Welcome in, Raiders. I'm so happy to have you all here today. But before all of that, please welcome my guest, Fuwa. We're actually having to do some live balancing just to make sure, because OBS doesn't let you see audio levels in studio mode except for the scene that you're on at the time. But I am seeing you come in loud and clear, I believe, Fuwa. So
Wow.
I get the feeling most people here know who you are, but just in case they don't, if you could introduce yourself.
Oh my god. Hello. I'm full owl.
Oh.
So I told them I would leave it on.
Honestly,
I promise.
I like it when people leave those things on.
Hello, I'm Fuwa. I am cat.
She is cat.
I'm cat. I am Australian. I draw stuff. I sing stuff. I play stuff. I don't know. I do whatever I want.
does
I have
stuff.
fun with it. Yeah, you guys love stuff. People love stuff.
People
and
love
I like
stuff.
fishing.
Yeah. Yes, I was going to say stuff as of relatively recently includes fishing. That has been your
Yeah.
new just hobby, fascination, and I'm not quite clear. Just egg.
Egg.
How much of that fishing was planned? That I know around American Father's Day, you put fishing supplies
Ooh.
up on your throne. Was
Yeah.
the idea for
I think-
fishing before or after that?
I mean, I've like thought about it for a little while. Ever since someone made that like not VTuber asset, like the on-stream thingy that can pop up and like it lets your chat fish. I was like,
yes.
I was like, I wanna do a stream where I use that at once. Joel, I wanna do a stream where I use it at some point. But then I was like, well, I wanna make it a bigger deal, so maybe I can make a fishing themed stream when we introduce it for a stream, and then I could do like a fishing game. And I was like, but I don't know that much about fishing. And then I started looking into it, and I was like, well, I guess maybe what if I just gave fishing a go?
Yeah, why not?
And then I was like, I could put a rod on throne. I could put a fishing rod on throne. Give it a try. It sounds like something I'd really like to do. I've never really tried it. And then someone got it for me like the day after I put it on there. Like this, like 10 hours after I got on there, people got me this stuff, and I was like, well, shit. I guess I'm going fishing.
I guess I'm fishing now.
And then I just kind of like, I just really liked it. I just immediately enjoyed it. So I guess I fish now.
I guess you fish now. Also,
But
I forgot to...
I do like.
Sorry, I was gonna say, I realized I forgot to thank a bunch of followers real quick. Chiringu Channel, Raven of the Pit, Hassel Coffee, Keaton Mc1, Gorilla Senpai, Laura Crofts 237, Mimo Sune, and Little Star Fairy. Thank you for the follow. And welcome on in, Raiders, again. So, fishing happened.
But it's not the only thing. I feel like, honestly, I've been leaning into the like dad core lifestyle for like a little bit now. I've got a mug that says I'm the best cat dad. I own a drill and many tools and enjoy doing things like that and making repairs around the house. I'm just kind of like, I don't know, I'm just that kind of a person, I guess. I don't know. I grew up with all brothers, so I guess I'm just like a bit more like, I thought I'd just have fun with that stuff, you know? Can you build a shelf for us? I would be more than happy to build a shelf. I just need to
Had
get
you
some
built
wood.
shelves before recently? Was this something that your brothers taught you to
I
do?
mean-
Is it something you're familiar with? Or did your brothers take care of that? Or did other folks do that growing up?
I'll be honest. I like was always treated as like too fragile to be allowed to do anything like that, but I had to watch them be allowed to do it. And so
you
by the
still
time I was an
learned.
adult, I was just like, all right, this time no one can stop me wanting to do all the things that they would be like, oh, we're gonna go fishing. You're gonna go shopping with your mom. And I'm like, but I want to go fishing. And they're like, you can't go fishing. You're just a little girl. And I'm like, but I wanted to go fishing. But now I can go fishing. I think it's also because I was the baby. I think partially it's probably because I was a lot younger than everyone else.
Gotcha.
So like no one wants to like, let's say they went to work on my dad's car in like the garage. You know, they don't want like a 6-year-old girl trying to help. Probably. So like it's not entirely, I think that definitely a little bit once I got older. But now I'm like an adult, and so like all the stuff I kind of like wasn't permitted to do by them, I've like got
now if anything it's defiance it's now I want to do all these things that I wasn't allowed to do, and I will go out of my way to do them.
It's the exact reason I also became a VTuber, because like I'm really good at doing things out of spite and then taking it way too seriously because I end up liking it.
Oh, spite is a very powerful motivator. I know
it is.
You would not be the first guest I have had who said that they became a VTuber out of spite.
I absolutely did. Because it was just like, I drew my model, but I've done like anime and art for like a really long time. And like, back when I was younger, like my parents, particularly my dad, got like really upset at me for liking anime and like wanting to do art and stuff like that. They were just like convinced that it's like a hole that you fall down that will make you miserable and a non-functioning member of society.
Well, I mean, it being a hole you fall down is not entirely inaccurate. Non-functioning member of society, I would argue against that one.
Come on.
I would argue that I know plenty of people who are...
But like, the second, oh my god. The second, like, I just remember being like, okay, the second I have a chance, I'm gonna somehow, one day, turn my ass being a weeb into a career. And you know what?
And here we are.
Did it! So that was the goal, yeah. And that's like a lot of things that I get into. It's just like stuff that I've been like, I wasn't allowed to do this. Okay, now I'm gonna do it.
Because I can, and you can't stop me.
Yeah, no one can stop me now. So let Tom is back. Hey, I was doing VTuber long before we got Tom. Who is my cat, by the way? Well, one of my cats. I have 2 cats. This one's Tom. He looks just like this. I haven't added Kabe to the model yet, because I drew the model before I got Kabe, but I do have one of my cats on it.
Are they the same type as cat? Same type of cat?
No, Kabe's orange. Tama's a ragdoll ex-Himalayan, and Kabe's orange.
Ooh. I'm terribly allergic to cats. Not like death allergic, but sneezing, watery eyes, bad time allergic.
Oh,
and
no.
It's very sad because I like cats. I like animals in general. And they usually like me, I swear. Animals can tell who's allergic to them and go out of their way to just nuzzle up and be super friendly. And the thing is, I would love to pet all of the cats. I love them. It is just their dander that does not like my body.
You take like an antihistamine or like a thingy if you need to be around them.
Yep.
I don't think I would be able to survive without cats in my life. But I've always like been involved with cat-related stuff. I mean, obviously, I am a cat VTuber. That's it's kind of obvious that probably like cats.
Just a bit.
But I've like we've done fundraisers for them on stream, but I've also like fostered and volunteered at like cat shelters and stuff in the past as well. So I'm definitely very passionate about animals in general as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. How many cats have you fostered? Do you know? Have you kept track?
I don't foster anymore because I own my own cats now. But in the past, I think I fostered. It was a little bit of a break. But I think probably around like maybe like 10.
Oh wow!
In the past, and then just like found them. You hold them for a few months basically, and then you find them homes that adopt them.
Now, was this you just finding cats naturally around, or were you working with a local agency? I'm guessing, or
I worked with the Cat Haven, which is like a shelter here. That they're like constantly at capacity,
Yeah.
So one of the main things they're looking for people to do all the time, including right now, they always need people,
Mm,
is basically just people that have a spare room or just have some room in their house or anywhere that they can just have a couple of cats or kittens just to store it there, and they'll pay you to feed them. They'll pay for everything the cats need. It's just they need places
they
to
need
put them.
space.
Yeah, they're really low on space.
Was Tama one of the fosters, or did you actively
No.
plan to get Tama?
No, it's a very long period of time after the last year that I fostered. Financially, I wasn't doing too good, and my health started like going down very quickly, which is how I kind of ended up where I am now. So for a couple of years, I wasn't really able to have a cat or like be around any because I couldn't like afford to do it or have the time and the energy to do so. But after like a couple of years streaming, I was able to get Tama, and kind of probably wouldn't be able to afford getting him and having cats if it weren't for like streaming, to be honest.
Congrats, chat.
And
You
then-
got her a cat. You got the cat a
They
cat.
did. They absolutely did, which is why I let them name my cats as well.
Oh,
they
that's
named
very
Tama.
brave of you.
So
You could have wound up with Catty McCatface, Fuwa.
I could have, but so for context, you know how people have like nicknames for their chats,
Mm.
like cute little pet names
Yeah.
or nicknames that they give their chat. Like I don't know if you have one. Do you have one right here?
Nah, the chat here is always 90% the guest chat, so chat for me
That's
is just
true.
chat or the audience, I suppose.
Well, in my channel, they they chose a name for themselves, and they decided that they would like to be called Balls.
I am entirely unsurprised by this.
They're called Balls. Yeah, we have an emote for it. They're balls. They are my balls. Like, well, no, not like that, but so when they were allowed to name my cat, the word Tama in Japanese means ball.
Ah, there we go.
So my cat is Ball. He's just one of them. He's one of the balls. They're all together.
That's very creative. That is, frankly, more thoughtful than I would expect the average Twitch chat to do when given that kind of power.
Yeah, I mean, we did polls of a couple of options, but honestly, it just sounded perfect.
Yeah.
I think the name really fits him well. He is just a ball of fluff as well. And it's actually a reasonably common name for a cat, so it doesn't sound weird at all either.
Yeah.
And then Kabe was not planned. He is the accidental child that I love the same. I wasn't meant to get a second cat, but Tama developed something that is called it's called single kitten syndrome, because I got Tama as a baby because I've always wanted a ragdoll for their personality type, though he ended up being a bit more chaotic than I expected. Tama developed single kitten syndrome, which basically means that very young kittens, especially if they're like the first couple months of their life, they don't really know how to be a cat yet unless they've got other cats around them. Usually people who get kittens have like other cats in the house already. I did not have any other cats, and Tama got pretty bad. He got kind of like lethargic, depressed, didn't really want to eat. Like he was very not good. Like he was really bad. And it turns out that there's a prescription that helps the situation when cats can get it, because a lot of kittens do actually get this. You get another one.
Yes. The
So I
prescription
looked,
is
I
more
looked-
cats.
So essentially, there's like a Craigslist in Australia and the UK called it's called Gumtree. I think it's in the UK and Australia only. And it's kind of like Craigslist but a little less dodgy. I just so happened that week to run into someone who desperately needed to rehome a kitten that they'd gotten because their kids couldn't take care of it. Their kids had some like health issues, and they were like, we can't have them around the cat any longer. And I was like, well, that sounds kind of perfect. So I reached out to them, and then basically the next day they dropped the cat like immediately to my apartment at the time.
And the rest is
like,
history.
Yeah, Tama's mood changed within like an hour of that kitten turning up. They weren't allowed to be around each other at first, so we had the kitten in another room, but Tama did not leave the door. And they've been like inseparable ever since. They're just he changed and was happier like instantly, and he's kind of been great ever since.
Oh, that's fantastic.
They're so good for each other.
And, growing up, my family had 2 miniature poodles, and my parents had gotten the first shortly before I was born, and it was when I was just a couple of years old that they got the second one, and it was also accidental, though not quite in the same way. That a single cat syndrome makes perfect sense. I'm not sure if such a thing exists for dogs. That was not the case in my family.
Oh.
My mother took the first dog to the groomers, and the groomer had been a personal friend of hers for a while, and that she, goes to drop them off at the place, and she sees the other dogs sort of scurrying about, and she's gone there for long enough now that she recognizes most of the dogs. And she says, oh, that white poodle over there. Haven't seen that one before. And the groomer picks up the dog and says, oh yeah, you wanna see her? And she puts the dog in my mother's arms, and the dog is just, very calm, very friendly. And my mom says, whose dog is it? And the groomer says, yours.
What?
The dog was a rescue and just happened to be being held by the groomer, that basically she was fostering the dog at the time. And that she saw the opportunity when my mom expressed the slightest bit of curiosity about this dog. And it was just, whose dog is this? Yours.
You break it, you buy it, kind of thing. It's like, oh, you touched it. That one's yours now.
Yep,
it's
yours
bonded
now.
with you.
Yep.
So you have to take it home.
Yep.
I'm glad she took it though. It could.
Yeah, it wasn't quite so instant that she went back home and like consulted with my dad a little bit, and they were like, we can do a second. We can do that, and that the two of them were basically bonded, and
no
that
take backs.
Yep. But yeah, accidental second pets, always fun.
I've had a couple accidental pets in my lifetime, admittedly. Well, actually, not quite accidental, but I didn't come back and consult anyone when I wanted to get rats when I was younger. I had pet rats for like 2 to 3 years at some point when I was like a teenager. And that happened because I found a Gumtree listing when I was younger, and someone was just like, I have a couple of rats, I need to move to a different country, they're free, you get the cage, you get everything. And me being like a kid was just like, I'm gonna go get that.
That sounds fun.
My parents detested rodents and were terrified of them, but I just figured I could hide it.
It'll be fine, nobody will notice.
So I walked over there and carried the cage and the rats about like 6 kilometers home. Just carried the giant cage.
Yeah, I was going to say, this giant cage. You're not just carrying these 2 small rodents in a box or like a bag or something, that you obviously were bringing all of the equipment.
Now,
did you have a wagon or something that you were carrying it in, or was it just in your arms, just 6 kilometers?
I was like 14, I think, and I was small. This thing, I had to like hold my hands out all the way almost to be able to carry it. I would just have to like walk like 50 meters and then just put it down.
Put it down, rest.
And then pick it back up and then walk another 50 meters. I think it took me about like 2 hours to get this thing home.
Yeah, after carrying something that big. Hopefully, like, I assume it was a nice day out. Otherwise, that would have been...
Yeah, it was clear, yeah. It was not too bad. And then I just like put it in my room and then like covered it up with a towel until like one day when I wasn't home, about a week later, my mom went into my room, I think to get like a dish off my desk or something to clean it.
And noticed
and then
this
she was just like, what
large
is this? Lifted
object with a towel over it, and that wasn't there last week. What could it
Yeah,
be?
she lifted it up and screamed apparently, and like ran to my dad and started crying because she was terrified.
That
And
is
then
quite
I
a
got
jump
home
scare.
and I got in a lot of trouble. I got in so much trouble, and she said she would never step foot in my room again, ever, because of that.
Well, I don't know, at that point in time, is that actually a benefit, though? It just, like, okay, now I
Love
figured
it.
out how to keep my parents out of the room.
But I did end up making my dad fall for them,
Ah, very nicely
so I
done.
was
Yes.
able to keep. I was able to keep it.
Mhm.
It was a typical dad thing of dad does not like this pet, but then ends up liking the
Oh,
pet more
yes,
than
and then
everyone
ends
else
up
in the
loving
house.
more. Yep.
That exactly happened. But they were great rats. I liked them.
Yeah, that's wonderful. When my siblings had hamsters for a while, we never had rats, but we always had, for most of the time, dogs, and that with the most recent dog, that it was also a situation of my dad wasn't entirely certain if they wanted to get another one, and fast forward a couple months, and the dog was just, for multiple reasons, getting the dog was absolutely the right choice for my family.
I think those could be good. What was I gonna say? Oh heck, I forgot. I meant to add something and I completely forgot. My brain. It disappeared. That's okay.
So how old is Tama now?
Tama's birthday is actually about to come up. He's about to turn 2 on the 7th of the 7th.
Ooh. Very good day indeed.
That
For some
is
reason,
his
I actually
birthday.
thought Tama
He
was a bit
likes
older.
number
I didn't
7.
realize he was that new still.
No, I got him as a kitten and only pretty recently. So I got him after like VTubing for like
That's
almost
true, yeah.
2
You did mention it
years.
was after
Yeah.
you'd been VTubing, so that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Time in
Yeah,
VTubing is
777.
weird. Because you've been doing this longer than me. I've been doing this a bit over 3 years, and that makes us old guard.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I've been doing content in general for like on and off for like just nearly 11 years now, but I've only been doing VTubing for like 3.5 years now.
Mm,
Look, we're around. We've definitely seen people like come and go in the community quite a lot.
yeah.
But I'm happy a lot of people I've known from like the start, like Vivi and everyone, are still around.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride thus far, and I always say this is still the Wild West. That it feels like VTubing has been around for forever, but this is...
It's still pretty new.
It's pretty new. We're gonna be looking back on this and say, oh yeah, that whole 5-year span, that was all the early days. That was all the Wild West, even though now is so different from what it was even 2 years ago.
Yeah, like everyone, I feel like almost everyone that like has been around or is considered like older in the community is like anyone who debuted around like 2021, basically, or earlier. Before like the boom basically happened, like right before the boom, where like everyone and their mom was becoming a VTuber.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
And now that's kind of like fading off a little bit.
But I suspect that
because of COVID.
Yeah, I think that definitely has a lot to do with it. But I also think we're just going to get to the point where more non-VTubers realize that they can have a model and not use it full time.
Yeah.
That I expect in 5 years, getting just a basic VTuber model, whether it's a stock model from a website or commissioning something on the cheaper end, that you see these articles of how to be a content creator, make your social media accounts, and be sure to, create assets or get assets and whatnot. And that a VTuber model, I think, will just become part of the basic asset package that people get to anticipate getting with just becoming a content creator. That it's going to be, get your backgrounds, get your logo, get your profile picture, get your VTuber sort of just template, and that it doesn't need to be anything super fancy, but that if you want to do a gag where you have to ignore the laws of physics, if you want to just stream one day and not have to worry about what you look like, if you want to hop in on somebody else's channel and not have to worry about, cameras and whatnot. That we already see folks do this a lot with just Fuji's and
VTubers are
PNGs.
really good
but
for collabs.
yeah, it's just so much easier. And with that, there's already a lot of people that use PNGs or just icons of themselves when they're collabing because doing actual camera feeds into other streams isn't really feasible. But
Yeah.
doing something with VTube Studio or just screen share for the model, that it's going to be a lot more practical. And I think more and more people are going to realize, oh, having a model, being a VTuber, quote unquote, doesn't mean that is all I am, that is not all I do. And I think we're going to see that line blur and that definition blur.
There's definitely been a lot of people I've seen in the past, like, year and a half who kind of like used VTubing a little bit to get started, but then kind of transitioned maybe more into IRL content.
Yeah, it's been
Or, like,
it
being more
has
of an
been
IRL
interesting to see
persona.
that sort of bi-directional transfer too.
I think in a way, not that it makes it any easier necessarily, but I think VTubing helps you stand out in a bit more of a niche and find a community a bit faster than like a standard like camera streamer.
Yeah,
I think people are a lot less intimidated by it.
and just
And it's like,
branding as a
yeah.
VTuber is easier because you're able to
Oh,
quite
yeah.
literally look more unique, look more iconic, and stand out in that
you
way.
can stand out. And then I've seen like people who like do VTubing for like 6 months, and then maybe it wasn't for them, or maybe like they were like, okay, now I want to see, now that I've learned the confidence. I mean, that's another thing too. If you're confident, like maybe you're confident speaking a bit on stream, but maybe you're just not quite mentally ready for like the full commitment of like being on camera. You can start out VTubing and then like get comfortable talking to people, and then make that next step into doing like IRL content. Some people I've definitely seen do that
Yeah,
as well, so they've kind of used it as a stepping stone.
Mm,
But they still have it as an option sometimes if they're just not feeling it.
soon enough we're gonna have IRL Fuwa fishing streams.
I have done like one IRL stream in Japan like last year. And I was just walking around. It wasn't like me on camera, but it was like walking around in Japan IRL.
Mm,
And like, I want to do a little bit more IRL content eventually. It's just that it's quite daunting, and also like the setup is really chunky. Like, you
yeah,
have to have kind of like the backpack. I have like 2 phones, one for chat, one for actually broadcasting the stream, and like a lot of microphones. I had to get a lot of stuff together for it, and just being able to run it relies a lot on like a stable connection and stuff.
yeah, for sure.
But
And
And
that's
it's
going to
pretty
be for anyone who
enjoyable.
does IRL streaming that isn't, in a studio or in their house attached
Yeah.
to a proper
It
streaming machine.
complicates stuff.
Mm,
But I feel like I probably will do a stream where I'm fishing maybe. I just have to do the logistics of it and probably get some kind of a stable like mount.
yeah, because
For
the
the
last thing you
camera.
want is, okay, I'm out on the river and I bump into
Yeah.
something and oops, now everything's in the water.
Yeah, I'm a little scared of that, especially since
that-
I'm usually fishing on like the side of rocks and stuff.
Mm,
But also, I think the thing that got me about my first IRL stream, that like, I have like a fair bit of anxiety and stress being like, I'm okay in like streams having like attention towards me, but I'm like pretty scared of attention in person and drawing attention towards myself.
and certainly if you are walking around in public,
Yeah.
holding a phone up, wearing a large backpack, and talking to yourself,
Yeah.
that is going to attract natural attention. That it's
Oh yeah.
just something that if you were out in public and saw somebody, naturally you're going to look up there and like, oh, what's that person doing? And
Yeah.
even if you don't think,
I
oh,
was-
that's weird, that's strange, that it's going
It's a
to
little
attract
scary.
gazes.
Yeah, like when I was doing the Japan IRL stream, and I was walking past some stuff, I walked past like an Indian restaurant, and there was a guy like handing out flyers at the front of it, And as I was walking up, he realized that I had like the camera and like I was holding my other phone, like I was clearly live streaming.
Yeah.
And they tried to like coerce me to go in.
Oh no.
They were like, "Oh, please come inside, come inside, come inside, come inside. You want the food? We'll give you the food." And I'm just like, I just laughed and kept walking. Like,
I guess points to him because obviously that's sort of a smart thing from a marketing perspective of, oh, I see someone streaming, I know what they're doing, and if we get them to come into our restaurant, that's going to be some great advertising.
Yeah, they absolutely wanted that.
So
it was scary. I wasn't like, I think I just had like a minor panic attack when it happened because I'm like,
no,
oh god.
Thanks anyways, buddy, bye.
I just kind of awkwardly laughed and then just walked away. I was like, like it was fine. It was just a business, but like I was not ready for the amount of people that would be. Thankfully, I think in Japan, people are a lot less like abrasive when they see stuff like that. They're not gonna point it out. They're not gonna come bother you. So I definitely felt the safest doing it there. And like whenever I go back now, I was actually planning to do another live stream there, or a couple actually. When I went there in February this year again. Oh no, it was actually, I think it was like more like early March because I didn't leave for a bit. Yeah, I think it was in March. And then I got there and I got COVID.
Oh no!
And I spent like basically my entire holiday except for the first like 6 days like completely bedridden.
Oh, that's the worst.
It was my first time getting it too.
Oh.
But it happens. But next time if I go back, I definitely think I like live streaming there better. Here, people tend to like, if you dress even slightly more colorful or slightly different here, like you have people like come up to you and be like, "Why are you dressed up? What's happening? Are you going somewhere?" And it's like
people like come up to you. It's like
absolutely they do that here. Yeah.
I don't even know if that happens in America. That people will look at you funny, sure, but to go right up to you and say like, "Why are you doing this?" That's bold.
They 100% not only do that in Australia very easily. I think particularly because I'm in WA, which is like Perth in WA. Basically this is the like most isolated city in the entire world as far as distance between like the city to anywhere else. There's nothing around here, and it's a pretty small city, and a lot of people here tend to have issues where they have never left, and you know how kind of like you're in a small town kind of mindset. Like, it's a decent population here, but you can tell that, like, the attitude people have is, like, they've never left, they've never seen anything different in their life.
Yeah.
And so they see something, and they're just like, "What the fuck is that? I'm gonna go find out."
Oh, okay, well, I guess then sort of from that perspective, almost is it... So, then it's perhaps, I guess... well-intended if poorly executed curiosity.
Sometimes
of
it's
not even like, oh,
yeah.
How dare you do something different, but oh, this is different. What is this? I wish to know. This is so fascinating to me. Please tell me.
I think it's like 50-50. I think like a good 50% of the people genuinely are just confused and just like, "Whoa, what is this? Like, I've never seen this before. We don't get a lot of people here." Like people do that even if you just don't sound Australian here. They're just like, "Oh my god, where are you from? Like, who are you? Why are you here? Why are you here?
How did you find us?
No one comes here." And then there's 50% of the people who also just like are a little bit closed-minded because they've been isolated their whole lives. Who are just kind of like, "Oh, what the hell? What are they trying to do?" You know?
Oh,
what is that? What is that?
Goodness, this isn't right. No.
Yeah. They're just kind of like, we would call it bogan here. Like, they're just kind of like... Okay, but let's say, like, it's like 10% of them are just on So you do get, like, the heads that are, like, they do come up to you and they're just kind of like, they're tripping balls and they're confused and they're just stumbling around. But, yeah, like... The hillbillies of Australia, yeah, definitely. There's like a lot of bogans here. Like Melbourne's got like more hipsters and more like normal people, but WA has got a lot of bogans and like a lot of heads. Sorry, Twitch doesn't like that word, so I'm sure it's
understandable. I appreciate it.
But like because of that, there's some interesting types of people. Like, you might not even stand out and someone will probably... I would guarantee you couldn't walk around the city here for longer than about 10 minutes without someone walking up and being like, yo, you got a lighter? you gotta have a cigarette? And you're like, I don't smoke. And they're like, what?
No.
Why not? It really is like, it's very similar to like a hillbilly. We have like a very country feeling city here. And it's gonna be a bit strange sometimes, but I think it's getting better. Because more people are coming here, and I think like the internet's helped people be more accepting of people that are a little bit different. Because it's becoming like a lot of younger people don't care anymore what they dress like. They don't have to do the trends that everyone else is doing. People just dress how they want now. And because of the internet, people are getting exposed to more stuff, and they aren't as like, oh, what is that? They're just kind of like, oh, I saw that online.
So, how does young Fuwa in the hillbilly area of Australia first get exposed to anime and weeb culture? How does that find you? Because if things are a bit more isolated and, like you said, people aren't necessarily as even just aware of
finding people
outside
who liked
cultures,
anime was pretty rare when I was younger.
But how does it find you? How did you get into it?
Hot neighbor.
Well,
there was a girl next door, and she was a lot older than me, and she had a lot of anime on VHS, and she just would like give me anything. She would just give me heaps of resources and stuff when I was younger, so I like got to watch a ton of stuff, a lot of which I don't remember. Gasp, a woman. She was very pretty. I like, not in like a weird way, because I was like younger. It was more like I grew up with brothers. I never had like an older sister. She was kind of like an older sister figure to me a little bit, and like I'd always wanted like a sister, so I very much saw her like that. And so everything she was into, I was like, this is the best thing in the entire world. I love this too. Same. But like I genuinely found that while I wasn't into everything that she was into, she collected Beanie Babies. It was like she had like hundreds of them.
my
It was kind of
gosh.
scary.
I don't know if in 150 episodes someone has said the word Beanie Babies. I collected Beanie Babies when I was very young. I had like there was this
she had so
thing
many
on
of
my
them.
wall that just had these little pouches where I just, you could put a bunch of them into, and I probably had like 25 plus Beanie Babies that I really, really enjoyed.
That's
them
kind of
growing
impressive,
up.
actually.
I didn't have any of like the crazy rare ones, but I distinctly remember going to different shops looking for specific ones, and the bears were like the rare or the special ones, and that I got a few special ones like for my birthday, and I probably took the tag off of like 90% of them, which if you did, that meant that they were like totally tanked in value. But now I'm kind of curious. Next time I visit home, I need to double check how many I have and if they're actually worth anything. I don't think they are now, because they used to be like money
There was like a
collectible,
weird,
but
yeah, like it went up and then back down again. It was weird.
yeah. Did you have any favorites?
She had, that was one of the things we didn't have in common with the girl next door. She had a lot of them, and they kind of scared me a little bit. I think eventually as a kid I had like one or two, but mostly like I'd go to their house and I'd be like, oh, there's like 100 eyes on me. Okay. Because they were just like everywhere. She just kind of scattered them throughout the house.
Oh gosh. I at least had them all sort of in one place. It was like,
I think she had too many for her bedroom, so she kind of just let them spread out amongst the house. But she did have like a really good collection of like anime and stuff like that. So I remember like I ended up watching like Sailor Moon with her, and like a lot of like I'm pretty sure Inuyasha, like some early movies, and I believe I got to talking about this with her because I brought up like the Little Mermaid VHS and like stuff like that I had, and like Kimo the White Lion and stuff like that with them. And then she just kind of like, she took me down the hole quite quickly in life. Eventually, once I was like a little bit older, she had to, like her whole family had to move, so they sold the house. And so for like a couple of years longer, I like fell out of it again. Like I briefly would watch like stuff on TV, like Pokemon, like One Piece, Yu-Gi-Oh, Hamtaro. I liked Hamtaro a lot. Hamtaro was a big one. Hamtaro was like that took up a lot of my brain for a while. Like all the standard like first seasons of older shows that had on TV, like first season of Naruto and stuff. Like I watched all that, but then it wasn't when I got into high school. That's when it hit. That's when it hit. That's when I was like, okay, this is my entire personality. It was like gaming and anime was like my entire life. Very quickly, like from like just before high school, so like year 7 is what primary school goes up to here. We don't have like middle school in Australia. We kind of just go primary school and then straight into high school. So high school here is like when you're like 14, 15 and onwards.
Mm-hmm.
Once I hit high school, I was the token like cringe weeb. I considered myself emo, or actually I think I was also seen at some point. I had a Gur backpack, a Naruto headband, cat ears, arm warmers, and I did the Naruto run around the schoolyard.
I can imagine this, and I was not quite that bold, but
I had no shame.
that's powerful, Fuwa.
The best
That is
drip.
so powerful.
And then I went home and played like RuneScape and WoW, and then watched Naruto episodes, which and
Honestly,
I think
though,
that was
that's
around
the
when like
life.
Shippuden came out.
You say that now, and just like, oh man, that sounds awesome. That sounds like just
Like,
you know who you
I
are,
thought
you
it was
know what you
cool.
like, and you are living your best life.
I was bullied to shit, but like it was worth it. I had no friends, but man, could I run fast with my hands behind my back, or at least I felt like I was going fast.
Gosh.
It was fun though. I was very cringe. I think I was like definitely I was like just completely like edgelord cringe, like in every single way. Like I thought everyone in the world was like garbage, and everyone hated me, and I hate everyone. I was like the dreaded like just the kid that's sitting there seething all the time and like listens to metal, and I like hit every mark of just the cringe edgelord teenager that like only cares about anime. And but eventually like I met one or two people that were like, okay, admittedly there's one game that kind of saved me, but simultaneously probably it wasn't much of an improvement. Around actually I'm not gonna say the exact year because that would give away my age, but at some point my ass found League of Legends.
Oh no. And you already
Yeah.
said that you had been playing it was RuneScape and WoW?
Yeah, it was right after I had like stopped playing that because I got banned in WoW because I was stupid and gave someone my account, and then they used like fake credit cards on it to try to buy stuff and then funnel it through that account. Yeah, I got through this.
That's
I
not
got
even like a
scammed.
cool way of being banned. I was gonna say like, oh
No,
man,
I
like
got straight up
what did
scammed.
bad girl young Fuwa do to get banned? Was she like running some scamming ring? Was she
I was
she
stupid.
like
I was stupid.
oh man.
I was just a dumbass, and I just straight up gave someone my login information.
Oh no.
And yeah, they did the usual scam route back then when people were just trying to like sell a lot of stuff. That was right when you could like
Yeah.
get the pass to play for free and stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah, so they did that. Obviously the account got banned. I tried to fight Blizzard on it, and I'm still salty to this day. They would not take my side or believe me. They were just like, nope, it was clearly all you, and then just like said, don't ever talk to us again. But because of that, I was like, I needed a new out. I needed something else. I had to play something else. And then I remember being on like a stupid forum and having a little advertisement with Katarina on it at the side. And I was
And
just
it was
like,
all over.
that's a hot redheaded woman. I clicked on it and I installed League of Legends. One of their old advertisements. And then one day, I met like basically my first ever friend in high school, towards the end of high school, and I was like walking around, having like playing playing in some edgy music on like these like what was the brand, like Skull Panda headphones.
Oh my gosh. The fact that I can't remember if it's Skull Panda, but I know Skull Candy.
It's that's it. I saved up for those with my job at Hungry Jack's. I was walking around. I took them off for a brief moment, and as I did that, I walked past a group of people, and I just hear behind me, Nidalee, and my head spins back, and I'm just like,
that word.
One of us. Like, I straight up like paused, and just was like, oh my god, there's no way. And I admit I'm awkward, so I'm still a bit socially inept, but I was significantly more so back then. So I just like stopped, turned around, stood behind their group, and just listened for like a good like minute or two. And they just kind of like eventually turned around, and were like, "Hi, what? Hello? Do you want something?
Can we help you?" And yes, you can help me. You can talk League of Legends with me.
That would have been a good answer. Instead, I froze, said the word League, and then ran.
Oh no! Oh. I didn't even say it. I said it like under my breath. I just went, League. Did you ever encounter those people again? Is there a happy ending to this where you found them again and you became good friends? Okay, good.
We would become friends because one of them ended up in an art class of mine at some point, briefly after that. And they sat next to me because I was drawing Roxas from Kingdom Hearts.
And there we go.
Oh my god! And they were like, "Can you draw this character from Kingdom Hearts for me?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" And I was.
Now, did they remember you as the person who ran from them?
They did bring that up.
Okay, so they did remember.
They did. After a brief moment of like drawing something for them really poorly in like my notebook with like a pen, they were just like, so like the other day. I'm like, oh god. But they were just like, what did you say? And I was just like, I heard someone talk about League of Legends, and I didn't know how to talk to people. But then they were like, I don't play, but my entire friend group plays. And then they just straight up, like, the same day that I got in that art class with them, they just straight up, like, walked me over to the group and was just like, this is this person. They're here now. And I got adopted.
This is Fuwa. She's with us now.
That was the best thing ever. We would end up having, like, LAN parties, like, every other month.
Oh,
it turned out to, like, be just the fucking best thing that ever happened to me. I met, like, so many people that I do not talk to anymore because holding on to relationships post-high school is very difficult.
Yes, so true.
Like, it basically, like, saved my high school years and got me out of that gloomy edgelord mindset of, like, wow, actually, some people are okay and they also play games. And I watched, like, a lot of anime with them. We traded, like... We used to, like, trade consoles and game discs and like, downloads and games off of thumb drives, and... It was amazing. It really was. And I was like, honestly, I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't somehow come across them by hearing the word Nidalee as I walked past. So, as much as League of Legends is cringe, it kind of saved my life a little bit. It was a very important thing to me.
That's so cool.
I didn't know how to do that.
Yeah, there's been plenty of times in my life where just you have a chance encounter that happens to connect with some nerdy interest, and that's all you need is the starting point. And that it grows to be so much more than just whatever that one thing was, and but then you go back and you're like, oh yeah, it was just because of that one comment, or because I saw somebody wearing that shirt, or I went to a thing for this thing and met people there and just, oop, got the hiccups?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
It's okay. I'm okay. It happens very often.
But
like,
yeah,
it
nerdy stuff
definitely
brings
went
people
like
together.
that. Marson said, they were like, guys, this is our new group cat. It was really like that. They just kind of adopted me and I just lingered around because I wasn't very social. But like, I would end up going to like metal festivals with some of them. Turns out like we had like everything in common because they were also kind of like cringy edgelord weeb gamers. So like, it works out like this. I ended up finding out that there's like a lot of those people there. And like, they kind of taught me how to socialize a little bit, which I'm still not particularly great at. But like, they helped me learn a lot of stuff that I wasn't necessarily. I didn't tend to learn that stuff naturally. And then yeah, followed on. Eventually, I like streamed OS and League of Legends.
Were you ever?
How
I guess,
long ago
how
was that?
competitive
Like, yeah,
were
about like
you?
11 years ago.
Was it something that you got to some of the higher ranks, or were you more casual? Did you like playing?
I never
specific
liked
styles?
ranked. Like, I played for a very, very long time, and I would play ranked off and on just to get the gold rewards, basically. Because you get like you get some free stuff if you hit gold, but I did not enjoy ranked. I have participated in 2 league tournaments at LANs before. On one, oh god, in one of the tournaments, we actually landed, I think it was 3rd place. I
Hey.
can't remember if it was 3rd or 2nd. It was like one of the top 3 spots, and that was because I like straight up League used to have like forums that were really active, and at one point there was a LAN party, like a really big one with like several thousands people. I think the total at the time was like 2,100 people attended the LAN.
Wow.
It was like the biggest one of the year. They have like once a year, and they were like, someone made a post and they were just like, we need a 5th. Our 5th just dropped out. The LAN is like this weekend. It was like 3 days away, and they were like, there's like not a lot of people in this city to begin with. How the heck are we gonna, find a last minute replacement? They made a forum post, and I was just like, I'll do it. In a moment at like 1 a.m. and then woke up the next morning like, oh no, what have I done? And then started like training with them. they were caught off guard a little bit. I was a lot younger than a lot of them, and also like they didn't realize until almost like about 12 hours before I turned up that I was like a girl as well.
Oh.
Which was not the norm back then, especially.
No, it was not, and still
like,
statistically not quite the norm today, unfortunately.
While they were nervous initially, because I think like a couple of them were a little bit socially not so good. Especially like they clearly had not been around girls too much. So that was very funny, but they were very kind. And they let me slip in there. We trained for the couple of days before. And because we'd already played, they didn't judge me. They'd already had the chance to judge me in my gameplay, and it turns out like we did really well. I actually straight carried a couple of games as like
Hell yeah.
support Nunu and stuff when Nunu support was like cracked for a bit. I also the game that like guaranteed us placement to get I believe we got 2nd. The game that guaranteed us to get that like was because of like me first timing support Nunu because someone else couldn't play it, and I was like, I think I was supposed to be playing mid for them, but then at one point someone was just like, oh, I misclicked Nunu or something, and I'm just like, I'll do it. And we swapped out of nowhere. No one expected it to come out, and it was just like one of those games that I'll remember for the rest of my life.
Of the accidental role swap where you have the team and that sounds like just a sports anime moment. Just okay, you have this person playing this position,
very
and
exciting.
they have to jump into this other position, and what the heck, they're actually a prodigy.
Like I was always reasonably good at it, but I'm typically, unless I've like got some people around me to drive me to be competitive, I just get really bad under pressure. I think I've gotten a lot worse at it. So, like, doing ranked alone, I never particularly enjoyed and would just, like, get stressed around. But, like, the tournaments and LAN stuff was, like, a lot of fun. And playing with people that I knew and playing with other people was a lot of fun. And that's something I didn't think I'd ever, like, enjoy that much until League.
I was never
and
really
then-
into MOBAs and MMOs of just... I was always big gamer, big anime fan, but just... While I had a good number of friends that were also into it, none of them happened to be into those styles of games, so I had nobody to really pull me into it. And that... I
Yeah,
didn't want to
League
play an
definitely-
MMO alone. I didn't really want to play League alone. And by the time
Yeah.
I had friends who were into League and other things, I was too busy with so many other things that I couldn't get into it. So I always just sort of watched from afar and was like, that's cool. And I always have enjoyed watching League. I think part of why League has grown so much in the esports space is
Oh,
that
their
it is
tournaments go so hard.
they have
Yeah.
good commentators, and it's a very watchable game. That
Oh, yeah, it's
I
flashy
compare it a
and
lot
great to
to
watch.
American football. That
Mm.
that I've watched American football for years. That I was in marching band, which meant that I had to watch American football,
Oh.
not by choice, for the first several years. And
You need to perform at it, right?
yeah, and that I know what a first down is. I know what a touchdown is. I know what a field goal is. I know what the quarterback is. If you were to point at two players on the field and say which is the halfback, which is the fullback, which is the running back, I could not tell you.
The what? I don't know any of those.
I couldn't tell you what a pass option is. I know there's something called a pass option. I know there's something called a quarterback sneak. I have no idea what the heck that play is. But in League, I know what the towers are. I know what the Nexus is. I know what the Dragon is. I know what the Baron
Because
is.
you watched enough of it.
Yeah, I know what a ward is. I don't necessarily know, team comps. I don't know what the proper build for a particular character is. But I can watch a team fight and see, okay, health bar go down on that one, health bar didn't go down on that one. That was
Yeah.
good. And oh, this person jumped in and sniped the Baron. That was really neat.
Yeah.
And that you don't need to know the nitty gritty. You don't need to know the stats. That there is just enough information that you can just intuitively understand as a viewer with little to no context and still get all of the hype, all of the excitement. That see someone
Yeah.
rushing the base or getting that last hit on the Nexus. You don't need to know anything about it. But the hype just, it's something that's very fun and easy to get into from that perspective. And I think that's so important for any type of sport that wants to get a viewership base, whether it be a IRL sport or an esport. Just it needs to be something that's watchable. And League was always very, very watchable for me.
League kind of like hit a bit of a gold mine accidentally because I don't think they didn't plan on the game being so perfect for that. But it really was. Like it really like hits every point you kind of need in a game you can watch, like because everything's really flashy. It certainly did it a lot better than Dota, because Dota, while it's interesting and takes a lot of skill and it's a very intense game, it's just not that good as a viewer to watch compared to League. Like League eventually would just kind of like focus on the upcoming like worlds in the way that they designed the characters and reworked them to make them look good on worlds as much as possible.
Yeah, and they went
Like, it
all in on the
encouraged-
production values for their broadcast, that
Yeah.
they had a proper studio setup,
Oh yeah, they
commentators
casted
table.
really good people too.
Oh yeah, and that was a big thing as well. Just if you have a good commentary team that is able to make it, again, accessible, even if they're just talking in general terms, playing up the drama, that's something, again, if it's basketball or football or an esport, that good commentary teams can make a world of a difference.
Yeah, I mean Raven says it well as well. Dota's fun to play, but like if you're watching it, especially if you don't know that much about it, it's just
Yeah.
confusing to watch because there's a little bit too much going on compared to League. I think that's kind of another reason why StarCraft is also a really good one for broadcasting, because StarCraft, you might not really know what's going on, but like when they do good stuff, the commentators go so crazy. I don't know if you've ever watched like StarCraft, like
I haven't,
like the
but
finals
I can,
in like Korea.
oh man,
They
just
go so hard. Like, oh my
Korea,
god.
Korea knows
Like,
esports. It's just
oh yeah, they
they're on
adopted
another
League
level.
immediately. Mm. Like League hit there so hard. They like the production value on Worlds once they introduced like international tournaments went so crazy.
Oh yeah,
'Cause,
and
like I've been
because
watching
every
the
region forced each other to get better.
I mean, especially like regions that before then hadn't really gotten a spotlight internationally, I think as well. Like from like the last, it was season 2 was like the last League of Legends tournament before they went like international. And the comparison between while season 2's one was like really good, when season 3 hit it was like different. Something had changed when they went to international.
I
It was
started
pretty
watching,
crazy.
I think it was season 4, so still pretty early on, all things considered. But I have no idea where they're at now. What are they at? Like season 12 or something? 15? Yeah.
That's very far.
I know it's been a while. It's been a decade.
It's been quite a long time.
But like, I remember watching the promotion tournaments, and to this day, one of, if not my very favorite league, possibly favorite esports play ever, was the promotion tournament where the Unicorns of Love did the reverse sweep, and on the last game that they were down, they had a team kill on the enemies. They rushed the base and were chipping away at the Nexus as the enemy team began to respawn, and they were down to their last player, and the last player was killed. That Unicorns had been team killed, but before the enemy killed their last player, they had one last attack, and that you saw the attack like in midair. Unicorn player dies, the blast hits the Nexus and it explodes. That split second and the game would have been lost. Reverse sweep, commentators going crazy. Unicorns of Love, welcome to the LCS. It was just so cool. It was so cool.
I think my favorite like ever moment in all of League is one that like I think I was still gonna remember it forever, because I tend to enjoy when people expect people to like go super hard in things, and then in actuality they just kind of go, we're just gonna fuck around because it's more fun and it's gonna be funny. And League is really good at like emphasizing personalities in the players themselves, like making like a huge deal about each of them individually. And like, you know, you got like Faker, you've had Dyrus, like you've had people in the past who are like big personalities. I mean, even Skara and people like that, they were League players, you know. Skara was in Dignitas, I believe. Like my favorite moment to this day is, God, I think it might have been season 3, was when TSM were kind of accidentally up for the semifinals, or the like the preemptive like pre-semifinals or something, like the one right before that, and they knew straight up that they were gonna lose. They knew that they had absolutely no chance against this team, and so when it got to like champ select, they're just like, okay, we know we have absolutely no chance here. We're just not that good compared to them. They're good, but they're like, we're just not them good. Like, they knew they were about to get slaughtered. And so they just like insta-lock Teemo. And the crowd and the commentators
okay, if you're not
lose
gonna
their
win the
mind.
game,
They're like, no
win the
way!
hearts.
And it was, I believe it was Dyrus. I think this is the moment when like Dyrus solidified his like name in the community. I believe they were the one that just like didn't even consult with the team when they did it. They just insta-locked them, and everyone's
just like, I guess we're doing this. I guess we're doing this.
Everyone for like 5 minutes after, we're all just like, there's no way, there's no way. And then they spent the entire game like trolling. And it was like, to do this on the world stage was so good.
That's
there were memes around it for ages. No one cared about the actual results of the game.
Just okay,
they
fine.
Just cared about what they did.
If you have a 5% chance of winning, and you know, because obviously could an upset happen? Probably, but if you just know you're outclassed, but you're on this very
Yeah.
big stage.
They
You
just
have
wanted
this
to have
big
fun.
audience. To
They
have
wanted to
fun
give us
and
a good show.
and just also,
Yeah.
frankly, from a business perspective, from a marketing perspective, think of what that did for
yeah.
them. Of just, okay, if we can't win the glory, let's win something else. Let's do something iconic. Let's not just be, all right, this was the quarterfinal rounds, TSM went down. We want people to talk about us. We want people to remember this. We want to remember this. This isn't going to be just, another match in this tournament. This is going to be one that people look back on, that this is going to be us doing something different. And here we are, however many years later, talking about it.
Yeah, like no one forget it, and I think it definitely solidified a lot of their personalities as individuals even more so, because I believe that was also the final year that team was ever going to be playing. Like in anything, I believe that was right before they were like, that's it. So they were just like, we want to end it like on a bang that's going to be funny as hell.
Yeah.
Instead of taking it seriously, and it was amazing. Like,
that's so cool.
It was basically the reason that they kind of did it as well is because as a joke, the commentators and the community had been like rallying around Teemo as just a stupid looking character and a very stupid like.
I never understood why Teemo was a meme, but Teemo was a meme.
He's very much a meme just because of like the how they work, and
also
so,
he's
like,
just this
for a
little
very
gremlin,
long
isn't he?
time. For a very long time, like everyone in the community was like, whenever got a chance to like, they just like would like chant it. They'd be like, pick them, and obviously no one was going to. No one was actually going to because they were trash. But then it got to them, and they were like, you know what? Let's give them what they want. Let's pick it.
Yeah.
Let's pick it. And I was just like, no way, they actually did it.
Oh, that's so
That
cool.
was great, and League helped me pick like so many. It made me meet so many people over the years, and it was kind of also League that would eventually get me into content because I would write cringy parody music of songs to be League of Legends parodies. As a content
Are these still
creator,
publicly
like 11 years
available?
ago.
Like, or is this on another account that has been lost
It is
to
on my
time?
current YouTube, but I believe all of those are hidden.
Okay, that's fair.
I basically made a persona that was like essentially just a copy paste of a League character called Sona. And I would go by them for a very long time. Like it was like a petite Sona with like a flat chest because I thought it was funny because their whole thing was that the character was like super honkers, like massive. So I was like, I'm gonna make a version of them that's just flat, and that's gonna be funny. So I just basically started essentially VTubing like 11 years ago as that character. But like VTubing didn't exist yet, so I would just produce content and stream as that character. Well before like streaming and VTubing were a thing. Obviously it ended up being a perfect fit in a way for me to learn it before. But I started producing content as that and like grew a little bit of an audience. Ended up getting more into art stuff for a while, but eventually like I still have like one or two people who have followed my Twitch like since about like 10 plus years ago that still remember me from that content and still like come by.
Would you
like,
ever
11 years
consider
later.
re-recording those? That I accept. Okay,
Oh, dear
those are
God.
older ones, and that they were under a different
They're really
persona.
bad.
But that's the point.
The lyric writing is so bad. Which
That's the
ball
point.
is it, BLG? There's a couple of them. I won't
Like,
out them, but
maybe
one of
that's
them
a
actually ended up
future
being a VTuber
subathon
themselves.
goal, like a stretch goal and a subathon. Okay, if we
Oh,
Chad, if we
God.
get this far,
Don't give them
that,
ideas.
that Fuwa will re-record it, and you can pick the best among them. That you don't need to
Oh,
do
they're all
one that's actually or hell, you could just rewrite them, go back and rework them.
They're so cringy, but it did also lead me to like recording song covers of other stuff, even if very poorly. On like I think I had like a $15 Logitech headset that I would record these in. Didn't
And
mix
people
anything.
would know they're going to be
Edited
cringy. They're
in-
not going to go in
edited in-
expecting, these are inspired lyrics. This is a brand new. That you would be letting people know, all right, this is circa 10, 15 years ago. This is
Oh, God.
the old days.
Like I unhid a couple of the old videos. So there's like 3 on there that are from like 11 years ago. Like 1 or 2 of them back in the day kind of like popped off a little bit, but when in old internet pop off things, which is kind of funny. So people like mildly enjoyed it, which eventually I would just go once I had the opportunity, I eventually just went, okay, well, I've already kind of done this kind of stuff before. I mean, VTubing, I'm an artist now, so I've got the skills to do this. And I was just like, on a whim, one day I was like, okay, I'm gonna try to do this. And then, basically, like right, it was right before COVID. I like started like saving everything that I could, and like put a down payment on my first rig for a model that I'd spent a couple months drawing. And then like COVID hit, and we got like a COVID payout, like a payment here for because of COVID.
Yeah,
And
I know a couple of
basically
VTubers. We had that in the US as well, and
yeah,
there's at
I
least a
put
couple folks I've had on the
100%.
show who are like, yeah, that check that we
Yeah.
got was what paid for that first model.
Yeah, absolutely. It paid for basically everything that I used at the start.
And the
Like,
thing
out
is,
of nowhere.
that's literally what that was for. That the whole concept at play of giving stimulus checks is for people to spend them, for people to stimulate the economy, for people to, even if they are
Yeah.
inside, to be able to buy things, take care of themselves, but also, for business purposes. And that this is what you do. This is your livelihood. And that it sounds weird to say, oh yeah, I spent that check on a VTuber model, but no, that in actuality, in practice, you did exactly what they were hoping for people to do with that money, and that's so cool.
Like it was a bit of a risk at the time because like I wasn't very financially very well at the time. And like I knew I wasn't able to do too much else, and I was just like surviving a little bit off doing art commissions and just like kind of struggling. And I kind of like almost put myself in the red. And like basically if I didn't make back a certain amount in the first month, I was kind of like, well, I don't know if I'm gonna make rent and stuff that week or that month, sorry. And then somehow it just kind of worked. Like, turns out like
You bet on yourself and won.
like I was terrified at the start, but like almost overnight, the second I debuted, like it was like I had an instant like amount of people around me in the community out of nowhere, and like it was insane because like a lot of people when they start out, like they start off a lot like pretty slow. Like vast majority of VTubers and streamers, like they start out, they just kind of press go live, or they have like a smaller debut, but they haven't got like a community around them. A lot of people from back in the day that knew me from like 10 plus years ago.
Yeah, well, that's exactly
kinda
it. That you
turned
mentioned
up.
you weren't
They-
just
yeah.
starting out from nothing. That you had
Yeah.
all these years of doing all these other things, and that
Yeah,
you weren't starting from zero like a lot of people were.
yeah. Like I think I've had a lot of people in my life, like, or I've seen a lot of VTubers struggle with like feeling like they haven't been able to keep up with people, especially when there's a lot of people who like start out and like immediately get partner or like immediately go like crazy. And like I think a lot of people don't quite realize that like they probably weren't actually just starting.
Yeah, and even
Like,
if they
a
weren't
lot of them had
necessarily
previous
streaming,
personalities.
that that they
Yeah.
either had
They were
previous
always usually doing
personalities or
something
that
else,
they've
yeah.
been doing content of another sort
yeah.
that they've now parlayed into it. That
Yeah,
Iron
like, a lot
Mouse
of
was
big VTubers,
streaming to people for years ahead of time. That
Oh yeah.
the people who anyone who makes it into Whole Live, that they're not just starting out.
Yeah.
They've done stuff for years, decades
Yeah, like a lot
even.
of a lot of VTubers were like professional voice actors or like singer. They were
Yeah, or-
already professionals in this kind of an industry.
That
It
they may
was
have been
just more
big
of
in
a
the
natural
Taite
transition.
community, or that like you
and I
said,
think
doing covers or art.
yeah, like for me it was just kind of like I had a lot of people that I knew from my art. I had a lot of people who knew me from my content, and like one of the people in particular actually that kind of helped me kickstart stuff a little bit. I don't know if you know a singer by the name of like Kanash Corp. They
That
did
rings
like
a faint bell.
they used to do like they did like My Little Pony songs and Weeb songs. They did like Absolute Territory and Touch Fluffy Tail in like a lot of those songs, if you ever know them. Ken is like a pretty massive internet personality, and it just so turned out that like I previously was a furry artist, and while I was doing furry art, like came into contact with them because they're furry. And once I was like doing VTuber stuff, they actually like stepped up a little and supported me, and were like supported at the start of it. And like, I'm not gonna lie, like them plus a couple of other people who like just kind of immediately were just like, oh, you're doing this now? Cool, I'm gonna support you in that. They like kind of just like kicked me off the goal and just like just kind of kept going. So like I got a bit of a kickstart because of the previous time there, and I think like because of that I've been very, very lucky, because people were able to find me a lot earlier than it would be for a normal person streaming who naturally is coming into it as a first time thing.
Now I want to connect...
like I think I was able to survive off of it.
I want to connect a
like,
couple of dots
quickly.
here. Because you mentioned really earlier on that, you know, one of the things that led to you finding your friend group back in school was the fact that you were doing art and that you happened to be drawing Roxas, and that over time you continued to do art, and just now you mentioned that you did furry art. So how does A lead to B? That obviously there is something of a pipeline here, but I'm curious, was there a incident, a moment that led to that evolution of your art path?
I'll be honest, I was always naturally absolutely garbage at art. But I am extremely stubborn, as is with everything in my life. I just kind of didn't care what people thought, which is sometimes a good trait, because I would just be like, I don't care if I'm bad, I'm just gonna keep doing it. And so like I didn't really have any natural inclined art skills. In fact, it was very frustrating, and I struggled with it for a very, very long time. And I gave up constantly. It wasn't until like I'd started doing the stupid League parody songs and like song covers on like YouTube early in the day that I would like start drawing like League champions or like myself occasionally, and kind of learned how to do it. So I've only really been doing art, like, or considered myself an artist for like 11 years. And it was back then, because before then, like, well, okay, I was drawing Roxas in my notebook. I wasn't. It was barely like. I'm surprised they even know what it was that I was drawing, because it was like a child's drawing. I was pretty bad.
Probably had a keyblade or something.
Like, yeah, I think I just I drawn something on there recognizable enough for them to notice. But like, I was never good at art. I was always better at music. Music was always more of my thing that I was like more naturally better at. But like, I didn't want to give up on art stuff, because like I wanted to be able to draw hot anime women, and I just kept trying. And eventually after being stubborn and trying it for a very long time, I would take my first ever commission. Back on, I think at the time I had a League of Legends fan page, where I started out my art on Facebook. I no longer have Facebook because it changed and they like wanted to force you to use your real name and stuff, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that.
Nope.
So I just deleted my account. Like right before the boomers all started invading it, that's like when I deleted my account on it. But back then I like just started doing art on it, and as a joke I was like, okay, I learned a little bit how to draw only women, only women. I only knew how to draw women. And that's kind of stayed around, to be honest. But I was like, okay, I wonder if people would like, I need something to draw. I've heard that sometimes people accept money for art, so I like made a PayPal, and I was just like, if you give me $1, I will draw a character's ass with your name on it. And I called it a butt for a buck, because a buck is $1 in Australia. So I drew characters.
Honestly,
butts.
undervaluing yourself there, but
okay, I was very new at art. They were pretty bad. But like I would just like roughly sketch a poorly drawn ass and write the person's name on it of a character that they liked. And they would give me $1, and I was just like, holy shit, people actually gave me $1. And then someone else gave me $1, and someone gave me like $5, and I was like, okay, this is a nice feeling. I like this feeling. And then I completely like delved into it and like wanted to do art commissions, and then that would eventually lead me to going like so I played OS. Through OS I met like 1 or 2 people who were furries, and I was just like, that doesn't seem too hard. I can probably like it's just drawn an anime person, but they have fur instead of skin, and they give them a little dot on their face for a nose.
There, it's the fur, and everything else is anatomically at least similar.
Yeah, I just drew the same. I just drew anime furry people. So I just started doing that, and like one thing led to another, and I would eventually, once I had to stop working because of my health, like. Because I always, like, I've done a lot of different kinds of jobs. Like a lot. Like, I've been working for a very, very long time. Up until just recently, I, like, would usually have, like, at least 1 full-time job, if not, like, multiple jobs at a time. Because I just, like, kind of constantly needed to survive. Because I kind of had to move out very quickly at, like, 17.
Uh-oh.
And was like, kind of, oh shit, I'm not gonna be studying. I have to work. I have to pay bills immediately. And so I did a lot of jobs, and then at some point, like, my health just tanked very quickly. And I went through, like, multiple mental breakdowns. Like, won't get into stuff too much, but, like, I was just in, like, a really rough place. But I had learned to draw a little bit. And so I made a fur affinity account, and just on a whim, made like a YCH and started posting a little bit of art on there just to try to survive in my like really scuffed apartment on my own, just trying to make do. Started drawing furries like almost 24/7. I did not charge very much for art because I was pretty new and I didn't know what to charge. So I'd charge like $10 for a GB, $20 for like a fully rendered image that would take me 12 hours.
Oh no.
And I would just sit there for like, I would almost never leave my desk. I would just draw them 24/7. At any moment I was awake, staying up for nights on end without sleeping, just to be able to make sure I could like make bills. Because I was suddenly unable to work and I didn't know how to not work. So instead of giving myself a break and trying to survive in other means, I just kind of like kept working in different ways.
You found something that worked.
Eventually,
you may have accidentally priced it such that it wasn't entirely efficient, but you're like, okay, this works, so I may as well keep doing it until it doesn't work.
Yeah, and I just kept doing it. Eventually, like, would make enough off of it to start doing, like, art at conventions and art for, like, art contests and stuff to try to make as much as I could. And then one day, like, stumbled into VTubing stuff and was just like, okay, I'm broke as hell, but I'm gonna try it. And so I drew my own model, started making all my stuff, and then the COVID payment hit, got the rig, and it started. And then like, it was almost like immediately in that first month when I was just like, I think it's why I still struggle taking commissions, even to this day, because for me back then it was very much not something I did for fun. It was a survival thing. I needed to draw to survive, and like, I still have a lot of dread and stress behind art for commissions, especially because it's kind of like
understandable.
The feeling of if I don't draw this, or if they're not happy with it, and they're not like, that's the difference between me paying rent or a bill or eating that week. Like, and that stress still kind of lingers a little bit, so I still struggle taking commissions. Thankfully, VTubing worked out, and I was able to like supplement my like disability like health payment with it. And I'm sorry, I'm like suddenly getting emotional over this.
You're good.
But like very quickly, that first month I remember just like I got affiliate immediately, like in the first week. And then like I remember, I think it was I was shocked when I got my first Twitch payout in the first month of streaming, which I was not expecting to happen. and like it like straight up, it was like an instant life change of just I could suddenly afford to buy food and like not have to like end myself every day trying to draw constantly to try to survive. It was just like an instantly I could just be like, wow, I can afford to exist. And I guess the rest is kind of just history because I just kept doing it.
Yep, and here we
And
are.
people just like changed my life. They meant I could buy a new computer. It meant I could get my cats. It meant it got to the point where like I was able to like buy a house with a friend because of VTuber.
It meant that
like,
at one point
never-
in time you streamed for days on end and basically spearheaded what is now kind of the meta.
Two uncapped subathons. I was like I was the longest VTuber subathon at the start with 69 days.
I feel like you
And like
sort of set that trend. Were you the first uncapped subathon ever? No, but yours
no, but
got
I was the first one who
visibility,
didn't.
and I feel like you can very clearly see the
Yeah.
uptick in uncapped subathons immediately
Oh, yeah.
following yours.
Like I was one of the very few people who like really took the name seriously.
Mhm.
Because a lot of people have done uncaps, but like a lot of them be like, yeah, I'm doing an uncapped, but then it gets to almost all of them would get to 2 weeks, and they'd be
And
like,
be like,
thanks
okay,
for the subathon,
I
guys. See
actually
ya."
need to
Yeah.
do stuff. I made plans.
Yeah.
I appreciate the support, but I didn't expect this much, and that's a good thing. But also, okay, for
Yeah.
practicality's sake, as is understandable, we need to stop this, or we need to
Yeah,
implement other practical limits.
Yeah, most people would limit it at about 2 weeks, and it wasn't until a little Sugoi. I don't know if you know her. She's like a pink bunny girl. Sugoi did one, and hers, she stopped it after a month. And she was the first person at the time that I had seen go to a month instead of cutting it off at like 2 weeks or a week. Because a lot of people would get to like 11 days and they would be struggling. They get to 2 weeks, they were just like, I cannot
Yeah.
keep doing this. She pushed it and ended after a month. And I just remember being like, she is the coolest person I've ever seen in my whole life. Like, I was just like, I want to do that. I'm gonna do that. Like, I'm gonna take it seriously.
Okay, so
And
you
I
did
prepped
enter
for
into
months.
it with the mindset of, I want to
I
go
was
the
like, I'm
distance.
never
I
gonna
want
end.
this to. This wasn't a, oops, I'm accidentally locked here and I will figure out how to make it work. That you entered in, okay, I want to make this a marathon. I'm going to prepare for a marathon.
Oh yeah, like I don't think I was entirely prepared. Like, I don't think I was ready for the actual toll it would take on me. So the first one went for 69 days. And then I was still salty about it up until recently, because obviously I just did another one 2 years after that first one. And it started, it was difficult. It was difficult, especially because like my health is kind of a little up and down, and unfortunately during the first one I had not the best time. I did like within the first couple of weeks of it, I ended up in the hospital with a leg infection.
Oh no.
And then, like, by the time we got to the end of the subathon, like, I had quite a few health scares and stuff, and I ended up having to choose to end it and have to deal with my health at the time.
Hmm.
And I was very upset about it. We got to 69 days, and I thought, well, at least it's a funny number.
Yeah, at least we have the
Unfortunately,
funny
I have
number
to-
meme to look back on.
Yeah, I was just like, I was in a lot of pain quite often, because I didn't actually know at the time. Because now I've been what's the word? Diagnosed. I forgot the word diagnosed for a moment. Like, it would be between when that ended and I started seeing doctors and going through all the struggles of trying to figure out what the heck was wrong with me, that I got diagnosed with endometriosis. And like, I'd already had atrial flutter, like atrial fibrillation, like issues with my heart. So like, I would already have some limitations with my health, and then like when I started getting significantly worse in different ways. I was really confused, and this happened kind of part way through the first subathon, where it really took a dip and it started hitting me. So I chose to end it largely because of my health.
Well, that's
and
good.
just having to figure out what was going on there before I had known. And I feel like I definitely would have kept going if it wasn't for that. Which is why 2 years later, I did everything in my power to try to set up the ability to do the second one. Because after that, it had been 2 years, I had been diagnosed, I had started getting control over my health again a little bit. And like, you know, I was on medication, I had pain medication, like I had ways of dealing with it and things I had to do to take care of it. So I could like more properly take care of myself. And that was the one that I did at the end of last year.
I remember I actually
in November.
approached you about being on the show shortly before that. And you were like, actually, I'm about to start the subathon.
Yeah, I was like
and
days away
we don't
from
know how long it's going to go.
Yeah.
And I think at one point you said that, you know, the dream may have been up to a year.
I was like mentally and physically prepared for it to essentially never end. I had like put myself in a position to be like, okay, I can go like upwards of 1 or 2 years. Like I was fully prepared for that.
I mean this in the best of ways, Fuwa. I'm kind of glad it didn't go quite that long.
In the end, I think like not only did it like when it was certainly difficult, but also I think the economy itself is significantly different right now than it was 2 years ago. I'm sure everyone has been experiencing the repercussions of the state of the economy, and especially in the past like year and a half. The world isn't so much in a great place, and that really came to a head like right as my subathon started.
Ugh.
And I think
caught in the crossfire. And it
like,
still went for a while.
It still went for ages, considering. And I would actually watch a lot of people a lot larger than me start and have theirs end. Like VTubers that were like in the like 100k Twitch follower range start subathons and still have them actually end for like the first time. Because when the first like wave of subathon happens, you know,
most
big
people
streamers
ended
would
them
do it
on their own terms,
they chose
not
to end
by
them.
the actual timer
but then
going to
suddenly,
zero.
Suddenly, you know, this time around, for like a really shocking example of like, welcome to evening news, state of the economy. The economy kind of sucks right now for a lot of people. Even my housemate at the moment like lost their job because of it like this year, and so that's been like a struggle because they've been trying to find work for like a couple months now. So I'm kind of covering everything myself. Like for an example, during my subathon, another very, very beautiful and talented, very large creator some people may have heard of, named Shy Lily, started an uncapped subathon during while my one had just like about 2-3 weeks after my one had started. And what people weren't expecting to happen was her one ended. And she didn't choose to end it. It ended. Shy Lily's subathon ended. And this was like a shock to the community a little bit.
And
because like people were like, if anyone can't keep one going, if she can't keep one going, that's like a big sign of what's going on in the world right now.
And there's also some nuance to it that the scale that people use of how much time does a tier 1 sub add to the timer is going to vary.
Hers was pretty crazy,
and
of course.
You know, usually bigger streamers, for the sake of sanity, are going to have a more restricted scale of just, some will say, all right, tier 1 sub adds 5 minutes. Some will say it adds 3 minutes. Some will say it adds 1 minute. And
I think hers was like 22
there.
seconds. It was very...
Yeah.
Like,
I get the feeling
seconds.
She calculated hers out. She probably reverse engineered hers to say, okay, I want this to go X amount of time, or, you know, for safety's sake, we should make sure that it goes approximately this, and then sort of math in reverse of, okay, if this is how long we want it to go and we expect approximately this many subs, add a little bit in case people go crazy, and then what is the number? Because 22 seconds is very exact. That feels like a calculation, which, not begrudging that. I think that's very smart. I think that's how one should approach it.
I believe she did it so it actually added slightly more time than it had the previous year. But I think what kind of shocked everyone was the fact that they didn't even reach all the goals, which is usually like what people would expect in larger streamers' ones to go. And it was basically like after her one, a couple of other very like large streamers did a couple where they would get like kind of like 2/3, maybe halfway through the goals that they were expecting to hit. And they kind of just had to be like, okay, I have to be a little bit more realistic about it. Maybe you can have it add as little of time.
Yeah, there's a lot of consideration.
It was difficult. It's why I think I ended up adding like a lot of multipliers and stuff throughout my more recent one. Just to try to make it a little easier on people.
And that I think you were very smart about yours as well, of, okay, you set these rules for yourself, but you are the one setting the rules. There is no law saying that you can't change the rules ever so slightly. And that, like you said, at times you added multipliers of, okay, I want to do something special for an event, or, okay, I want to make sure that we bump up the timer a little bit so our IP can count 2 times or whatever, and
like, it's very natural. Consider...
It's called a sale. It's what businesses do. That's how you're supposed to operate things.
I did still have to... I think that one of the main reasons that, like, I kind of had to let mine end naturally was because as much as I, like, wanted to keep putting discounts in place, like a sale of it adding extra time, like, I had to accept that, like, while subathons make a fair bit, with multipliers in place, the bills and expenses that went into it happening started, especially with the goals that I had in mind to produce with the money from it, I was just covering them, if not kind of, like, not even covering them at some points during it.
Yeah, that even with sales, there is a floor of practicality where you can't actually make the price 0.
Yeah, as much as I wanted to push to the 100 days, I was just like, economically, if I put in discounts to be able to hit it,
you're going to lose money on the proposition.
Goals, the goals and things needed to hit it would just not be possible. Because I think that the goal we had for 100 days was to do like a fully, like a professional like VTuber concert, like a 3D concert with people, and like it was gonna be a very big expense.
I can imagine.
It just wasn't gonna be possible, especially like if I had done like discounts and stuff. So I was just like, we're gonna just have to leave it how it is, because otherwise not only am I not gonna have the funds, because the main funding of the more recent one was not only just like future goals and like models and stuff that I need to put it towards. It was funding an album that I'm currently working on. A lot of the money went towards my original album that I'm like hoping it can come out like mid to late next year. I've already working on the first couple of songs with people. But like it was a pretty significant investment of the funds from it.
Yeah,
vast majority of them are going towards paying all of the people for that.
Yeah, there's
as well as the artist involved.
Mixers. I'm guessing you're probably going to go to a recording studio for your parts.
Thankfully, I have a pretty good setup at home. So I'm very lucky I don't have to go to that, but there is a lot of artists involved, there's a lot of mixes, and getting and working with people on original music is pretty expensive.
Yeah.
I released one cover on the day of the subathon starting, like the remixed song, so it was like a remake of another song, like, but it was like an original spin on it that I did with Nyate. Even that alone was like upwards of like $800 just to produce one song, and that was me producing the music video. That was me doing almost everything on my side.
Yeah.
To release like a whole album was like gonna be like, I think I'd estimated it to be like at least 10 grand.
Yep, that sounds right.
So like a lot of stuff is going like straight towards that, and like covering other expenses like the plushies and stuff, like getting that manufactured back then.
And then there's
Those
shipping,
have
which
now,
you've been doing
yeah, those have
lately.
now been shipped out.
That you've been actually taking pictures of these boxes, and they're very nicely packed. Do the people at the post office get interested? Because, you know, they're probably handling a lot of packages every day, and that's got to be something more fun. It
was interesting.
It's a bunch of plushies. It's not just, you know, random box.
It was interesting. They're pretty polite. I think the guy that works there doesn't ask too many questions. He just kind of like
they probably
assumes
see
I'm
a
selling
lot
something.
of things.
Yeah, they probably see all kinds of stuff. But like, yeah, I had to eventually just be like, it's gonna end, because if I let it continue, I'm not gonna be able to even cover the goals of the future, future goals that would happen if I did it. And so in the end, on day oh god, what day did we end on? 98? It was like right on the cusp of 100. It was like, yeah, it was a lot of days. Like it was a very long time. And it's like, as much as I considered a couple of options towards the end, but I think we ended up doing a poll where basically I was just like, I can give extra time a little bit, but we're gonna have to like remove some of the future goals.
Yeah.
Or like we're just gonna have to let it be. And in the end, we kind of just let it end eventually. We had one thing happen right towards the end of it where it stumbled for a bit because I'd messed up. So the way that it added time, there were a lot of different ways you can add time to it to try to make it fair on everyone. And one of the methods was like sponsorship uses, like payouts from my sponsors. Like people who have done those as well. We're meant to add time, like merch sales and sponsorship sales and stuff like that. And then on one day, it actually ended while I was unboxing some stuff. And it was a Monday. I had not realized that the start of the week had started because I was adding the time for sponsors and stuff. Because a lot of sponsorship requirements and merchandise sales, they do have a processing time. So I don't actually see them come up for a couple of days after for most of them. And then they don't actually say that they're approved until like the payments go through on their end.
Yeah.
So to make it as balanced as possible to add that time, I did it at the start, at the Monday, every week. I did it on Monday morning. But that day I'd forgotten. And it ended. And I was just like, oh damn, okay, see you guys. See ya, thanks for the subathon. I disappear, like an hour or two passes, and I have an epiphany, and I'm just like, oh my god.
I didn't do the morning accounting.
I didn't do the added time in the morning. So I immediately put it back up, and I was just like, this isn't fair on you guys. Like, this isn't fair on you guys. You don't have to let it continue past this. But I had forgotten to add this, like, I think it was like an hour and a half. So I was just like, I'm just gonna come back. If it's just the hour and a half,
it was
that's
the
fine.
epilogue. It was the post-credits scene.
I also believe that was day 68. So it would go for longer than a month after that. after the false end, people were just like, shit, it could actually end. And we had like this second wave of like time addition where it went to over 100 hours at some points, multiple times, out of nowhere. And yeah, we had this like second wave of it because I had stuffed up and just forgotten to add the time that day. And so because I didn't add the time that day, it didn't get to the time where some people hadn't woken up yet. So some people, a lot of people, it was also a really weird time for a lot of people. For a lot of people, it was like the middle of the night, they weren't awake. So they woke up the next morning.
You're like, wait a minute.
What do you mean?
I
It
went to
almost
bed
ended.
and she was definitely supposed to be, huh?
Yeah. So like it was this massive like second wind of just like time, and ended up going for a lot longer. That was a very funny moment. That like I didn't know what to do in the moment as well. I was panicking. Like it was really close
It has to be
ending
high
that
emotion because one, you've just gone
It
through
was
the emotional
stressful. I
roller
thought it
coaster
had
of
ended.
ending the subathon. Then
I
there's the
thought it had
panic
ended.
of, oh gosh, you know,
I messed up. Yeah.
Yeah, oh gosh, I
Yeah,
messed this
I was
up,
like,
and
what do
I
I
want to make sure that
do?
it's fair to people who paid for things expecting the time to be added.
Yeah.
And just, that has to be a
Yeah.
whirlwind.
I went through so many emotions that day. I like cried like multiple times
Aw.
because I was just like, what decision do I make here? I was going through different options in my mind where I was just like, I could go in, I could add the time, but make it capped to that time and just give them that extra time. But then I was like, people did pay for that time. And if those people had expected to see the time added and then be able to come back in the morning, extend it, like I needed to give them that option. And so I was just like, the bestest course of action seems to just bring it back.
Yep.
And I fully expected it to still end that day and just have like a couple extra hours.
Okay, cool. This is going to be the post-credits scene and we'll be done and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
And it'll be a funny
I fully expected it to end. Like, I fully expected it to end that day. And then I think it was like that day alone, it went like above a lot of hours because also, almost immediately after I had restarted it, there's a certain event that I added for my subathon, and that's because Twitch had revamped golden kappas. They were still reasonably rare.
Yeah.
But my rule was whenever we got a golden kappa, because they were pretty rare and I thought it was a fun way to do it.
Yeah, it's like
I would add double
1%
time.
thing now.
I would add double time for 24 hours if that happened.
And
it just so happened as soon as I came back,
right as you...
we got one. We got one as soon as I came back.
Even Twitch was in on this. Like, they conspired against you. They saw like, oh man, she's ready. Back up.
Quickly, get them to spend more money. Twitch wants the money.
John, you know that toggle that we have on the back end where we can guarantee that somebody's getting a golden kappa? Click that on Fuwa's channel.
The times it would happen felt perfect as well. Though there has been some weird times where it started where I'm like offline and I'm like, huh? But yeah, it hit and like I was like, oh. And then I think it was like that day we hit like 70 hours in the first like day. It went back up to like 70. And it was just like, okay, this is still happening.
I hope you hadn't made any plans for that week, thinking,
the
subathon's ending, so I'm gonna schedule this, that, the other. I have an appointment that day. I'm meeting someone for lunch.
I did have one friend who I had contacted when it ended, and I'm just like, let's do something this weekend. I'm finally able to do stuff. If you wanted to do something,
yeah,
and
then
like,
text back, it's like, actually, I'm not sorry.
I messaged him like 2 hours later. I'm just like, I'm sorry. I messed up and I have to keep going, but we'll do something when we end it. We did end up doing something, but like yeah, I fully thought it was over, and I told all the people I knew, and I like announced it officially everywhere, and in the end it kept going. But in the end, that I'm really glad that we did, because we ended like 1 or 2 days short of my previous record, so we pushed to get it past that. And then at some point, once it got to day 70, people were just like, I want to see it get to basically 100. And I was just like, in the end, it's up to you guys, you know? But it was a lot of fun. I still have a lot of really good memories for it. I will say that this subathon around, it felt like the time went a lot faster. I think it's because I was a lot more busy every day.
And you weren't in as much pain.
Yes, like, I didn't have to go to the hospital and stuff like that. Though, fun fact, I did almost have to during the second subathon.
At least it was only almost this time.
Wait, did I go to the hospital during this one?
I'm mildly concerned that you need to
I feel like I did.
remember if you went to the hospital or not.
Didn't I go to the hospital during the second one at one point? Hold on.
Check the records.
I did. Hold on, let me go on my Twitter. Yes! I had to go to an emergency dental room. That's right. I did have not like a hospital, but I had to go to a dental hospital at like the middle of the night, like a 24-hour emergency dental hospital, because the side of my mouth, like the side of my like face swelled up, and I like my throat was getting blocked, and I was like gonna die.
Do you know what caused it? That's not something that happens randomly.
It was partially to do with like wisdom teeth stuff. Because like where it had previously been removed, they had left something in there, and I am abnormally prone to infection. That is something I've had to live with like my whole life. It's partially because of endo, and partially just because I have a naturally kind of shitty immune system. so like I mean, I mentioned it earlier. The first subathon, I had to go to the hospital because I had an infection in my leg. I have been prone to like frequent infections like my whole life. It's also kind of the reason I transitioned more into art eventually over music stuff, because I at some point had like throat infections and laryngitis and stuff basically every other month, and I would be in hospital for infections with like my kidneys, and like just different parts of me would just get infected kind of randomly.
You need to stop falling apart.
Like, I don't know why, but I've just always been like super prone to getting more sick and more like infections than like the average person. I've just kind of always been like this. And then yeah, the first subathon was my leg getting infected, and I had to go get surgery on it for them to remove the like infected tissue so that I didn't like get sepsis and die.
Well, that's always good.
Then in the second subathon, the same thing happened in my jaw. And I had to go to the emergency room this time for dental, and just immediately have to like essentially have the same thing happen just in my mouth instead. I'm particularly good at this. So it was held together by your tack and tape, basically. So that was the second one. I remember making a joke about it because I was just like, it's okay guys, at least during this one I didn't end up in hospital, and then like not even a week later it happened.
Well, apart from
I just had to, yeah.
Apart from trying to not go to the hospital, do you have any advice for people who are about to plan or do uncapped subathons? Did you end up finding any just tips or tricks on how to either pass the time or how to take care of yourself?
Okay, first of all, my genuine honest advice, don't. Okay, first...
Eric knows.
My first honest and genuine advice for most people is that for the average person, it is probably not a great idea to want to do it or to rely on it. Not only from the mental and physical strain that it has on your body, once you surpass that like first month or two, like it has very serious impacts, and unless you're like preparing for a very long time and very experienced with being like already kind of a shut-in and a workaholic, if you are very experienced in that, you know, you've spent weeks at a time like carved over like an artist tablet like a shrimp for months on end, like if you've got some amount of experience in that stuff, maybe, but like at the end of the day, I think for the vast majority of people, it's not necessarily the safest task to do. I think honestly, just don't do it like I did it. Feel free to turn it off when you go to sleep. Feel free to like give yourself breaks. I think that's something we're seeing a lot more in subathon these days, where people are just like, hey, I'm like this amount of time in, I'm pausing it, I need to have a day off. Do that. Don't be stubborn. You don't have to be a stubborn little like me. You don't have to go for world records and do it by the books. You're probably not gonna get a world record now because there's people who have been going for several years. So give yourself a break. Have breaks, take time off, pause it when you sleep, do all that stuff, and take care of like your mental and physical health first. Because like it was tough. Both of them had pretty big impact. The first one was a lot worse on me. I think because I was very inexperienced and just kind of like went into it a little bit prepared, but not entirely prepared, especially for the health stuff. Second thing, other than just don't do it, or just don't do it like I did it. Just give yourself time off and breaks. Secondly, get yourself subscribed to a meal delivery service. Whatever the options are in your area, whether it be having someone cater and deliver meals like once a week in bulk that you can freeze. Do not eat Uber Eats every day. Do not do it. It's tempting. It's easy, it's lazy. You can do it occasionally. But if you eat garbage every single day of your subathon, you will feel like garbage every single day of your subathon.
Also, Uber Eats is probably just more expensive.
Oh, so much. You burn so much money on it. Like, I definitely had plenty of Uber Eats during my one. But it is extraordinarily bad for your health to eat that kind of stuff every day. And then also during the first subathon, that's basically all I ate. The second time around, I actually got like prescribed meals for like every single day of it, and
Should
had
have
like
had
a
them
small
as a
catering
sponsor,
service
because
for
I've
it.
seen, you know, there's any number of meal services
it
that
was
do
a
sponsorships.
small-
That you should have approached
it
them and
was
been
a
like, hey,
small
I will eat
local-
your meals every day and talk about the meal I'm eating on this subathon if you provide it to me for free. And that's the exchange, that you don't need to pay me
We're
out any
totally-
cash, but just
I mean,
if
if
you
other people
provide
can do
my meal
that-
every day.
If other people do that, sure, but I went with a small local place, so I absolutely would have doxed myself.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I like, it was like a small local company, so like I would have doxed myself if I had revealed the one that I use most of the time. I did end up trying like a couple of different ones at a time, but yeah, 100% get like a prescribed meal service so that you are eating well every single day. Give yourself a reasonable amount of like stretches every day when you wake up, and like if you can, like I did it a couple of times during it whenever I was able to, but even just like when you first wake up during it, just like go for like a 5-10 minute run around your block, just once or something to get your heart pumping before you sit down for a long time.
Maybe actually
do stuff, or,
schedule
like, do
in
more
morning
VR.
calisthenics,
Yeah.
like on stream of just,
Or, like,
all right, chat,
try to
everybody,
do
we're
that
gonna
stuff.
we're gonna stand up now, and even if you don't have body tracking and
Yeah.
a 3D model, that you can be like, all right, we're gonna bring up this video and we're all gonna do the
Yeah.
you know, classic Japanese morning
Yeah, I think
calisthenics together.
definitely it's super important, not only because you're doing this for such a long time, but like for the sake of your heart, as someone who has one that isn't kind to me, like just take care of it. You've only got one of those. Like your fitness for your heart's sake alone. I don't care what you look like, but you should be moving at least a little bit every day, because you'd be surprised how much you normally do it, but you might not realize you're doing it. Whether it's going grocery shopping in a week, or like going out for a little bit, going out to get a coffee, going out to do stuff with friends. As long as you're kind of moving around every day as you go do stuff, you are actually moving around a lot more than you think. And when you suddenly stop that and you're sitting at a desk 24/7, like some people even during a subathon like slept in their chairs. Like, you need to get your ass out of that chair. You need to move around. I was initially planning on doing stuff like Ring Fit and VR stuff, and then like I did one Ring Fit stream, and unfortunately did encounter someone in. They weren't a regular. It was definitely like not a regular, but we did have like a one person come by during it and just make me feel like incredibly uncomfortable.
Oh, that's the worst.
So I basically almost I still to this day like don't really feel like I am comfortable doing a Ring Fit stream now because of that one person.
That's unfortunate, but
It
understandable.
was very unfortunate, but that's kind of a part of the reason I just kind of stopped doing it cold turkey almost immediately, because that one person just made me just like eek, like cringe so bad.
Yeah.
And it was kind of the usual spiel to just be like, for free? But like they took it a little bit too far and kept saying it. And it was just kind of like, it's really fucking weird. It's kind of like I like fully support people who want to do like, you know, like more raunchy content, but like it felt really out of place in my content, especially because like I don't like lean into that stuff at all. I'm very much like I consider my stream like predominantly like an ace safe space. Like it's definitely more like we're just gremlins. We just mess around here. Like we don't do that stuff. And so when it kind of came out of nowhere, I was a little bit like thrown back, and like even took a little bit of a break after that, because I was just like, yeah, I don't feel comfortable doing this, and I don't want that to ever happen again.
Yeah.
I feel like it was just not like great. And then I was like, well, it's okay. I can do VR stuff a little more maybe. And then my VR VR headset started having problems really bad. And I was just like, wow, this is just not happening. Because like it would do this thing where every time I would move, and it wasn't an issue with the cable because the cable had been replaced. The actual headset itself, if you shook the headset lightly in the wrong way, it would immediately give you double vision.
Ooh, that's
like
not
out of
supposed to
nowhere, and
happen.
you'd have to turn it off and turn it back on again to fix it. And yeah, that just became super sensitive to the point where I haven't been able to use it since that day, basically. But my headset is very old, and I do mean to replace it once my housemate's working. I'm not having to. Right now, I don't have the money to get a new one, like I had planned. But I do plan on getting one soon as they pay me back once they start working again. Hopefully soon. They have maybe something lined up next week. Let's hope.
Oh boy.
Then I can get a new one.
Then
I can do VR stuff again. Like they don't mean bad. It's you know current you know the state of the economy and
Absolutely,
all that. Like
yeah.
right now especially, jobs are like
For sure, yeah.
really hard
This
to
is
keep
very
and
much
get.
encouraging. Like, you know,
Yeah.
oh yeah, ace that interview. We believe in you.
Yeah, I do hope the best for them. It's just like I had to cut back on certain expenses for a little bit to help cover things while they try to do that. And then once they're working again, they'll pay me back over time, and I'll have that money back, and it's okay. But like they're by no means the only person I know in this situation right now. Like, it's a really tough time.
It is rough out there.
But eventually, I do want to do VR stuff again. Too
I've
much
never actually
sleeping in
done
VR. I definitely used
proper
to.
VR, but I'm just like, that seems fun. That you know, I've only even used VR chat, just keyboard and mouse hangouts for a couple times, but every time I do, it's like, ooh, man, that I see people properly moving about in here, and I want to do that. I want to move, and I was late to the VTuber game. It
it's a
took me
lot of
3
fun.
years to decide to actually not be a disembodied voice and actually be the funny little microphone on a table.
I like the little microphone. It's very cute.
Oh yes, I'm very happy to do. Honestly, I feel like I should have done this sooner. It's just much easier to, I feel even on a very basic level to be able to connect with guests, just being able to actually have some sort of physical representation that
It
yes,
definitely helps a lot.
I think I am quite expressive when it comes to voice, and I don't think that not having the model was a bad thing. That, like I said, I did it for 3 years, but it really is night and day being able to actually have that two-way semi-physical interaction.
Yeah. It's better to connect with audiences as well. Like, I actually had VR a fair bit longer before I started VTubing, because I got into VR stuff a little bit earlier. So I got my VR headset in 2020, and I started VTubing in 2021. So it was like a year before, but I've been playing VR chat since like 2019, 2018? Wait, no, actually, I got my headset in 2019, I started playing in 2018. And I kind of got it on a whim, because as I mentioned, I was never like super financially very well off. I won an art contest and took a couple of commissions one month, and then I just so happened to stumble across a used HTC Vive on eBay for $150, which, by the way, at the time, those headsets were $2,000 in Australia.
Yeah, holy cow.
And it was up there for 150 AUD.
What?
And
I would look at that and worry about it
like,
being a scam.
I did. I straight up was like, I might get scammed right now. But I was like desperate. I was like, I really, really want it. And I just bought it. And like a week later, it turns up and there's a little sticker on it. And it says the shipping price to Australia. I think I fully scammed this person. Because like
It cost more to ship than you paid them, didn't it?
They had put on the listing free worldwide shipping because I think they just wanted to get rid of it. And I don't think they were expecting the person to buy it to be Australian.
Australia.
So I buy this headset for like $150, and it's got a little sticker on it, and it says USD 176 shipping. And I'm like, oh, did I do a bad thing?
Oh no! Well, props to that person. At least I hope you gave them a very good review. That's very honorable.
I felt so bad, but I also was really broke.
Because not only you said 170 odd US
176 USD, and I will never forget that number.
AUD. So they probably lost.
Yep.
Over $50 on that transaction.
Yep. And like I did message them and I like apologized and they were like, "Oh no, it's okay. I just didn't use it and like I'm sure you'll have fun with it." And I'm just like,
good.
"Thank you."
That's very nice of them.
Thank you so much cuz like getting that headset like helped me mentally a lot at the time and helped me meet a lot of people that I still like care about to this day. And it also kind of it helped me get back into just talking to people and being a little less scared of that kind of stuff, which helped me eventually be comfortable with streaming. It's like it all kind of adds up.
Yeah.
But I've been playing VR stuff for like since 2019. Oh god, that's like 5 years now. And so my headset was already used at the time, and they had it since 2016. So that headset is coming up to like 8
I guess
years
like this
now.
is almost an ad for HTC Vive.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, now it's starting to break, but it lasted however many years. That's a good lifespan for a headset.
Their new ones aren't so good, but the one that I have is the original. It's like the original Vive. So they used to be like tanks. Like this thing is a tank. It could probably be repaired and kept being used if I knew what the issue was. But the main issue is it's also not the highest quality. The view in it is very low res compared to a lot of other ones. It's not the best,
but it works.
But like, it was like life changing to me.
I guess.
And crazy. I spent like several like weeks at a time basically in that headset. Like every spare moment I got, I would live in that thing. It was amazing.
This is the metaverse we want. I fully believe VR chat is the actual metaverse that we want.
The only issue with VR chat is like I was lucky enough that I got to live through the glory days of VR chat in like 2018 up to 2021.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me just look up one statistic real quick.
Oh, do you have the hours played on Steam?
No, I'm looking at one other thing. Actually, my hours on Steam got reset at some point when they updated. It was very weird. When did the Oculus Facebook... When did the Quest release? Okay, in 2019, the Quest was announced. And... the Quest was like a more entry-level headset.
Yeah, it wasn't the $2,000 price point. It was like $300-$400. It was basically buying a console.
Yes, and it just so happens Christmas in like 2020, I think they released a headset that was like the cheapest that anyone had ever released. And for
meanwhile,
Christmas
everyone's
that
still
year,
inside because that's COVID
and it was
time.
it was right as COVID happened as well.
So everyone's
and so every parent, every fucking parent in the world makes a combined decision to go, hey, you know what my 7-year-old needs? A VR headset. And for some reason, every child in the universe seemingly appeared in VR chat out of nowhere.
They just spawned.
They spawned in, and it was like overnight, like after that specific Christmas, the state of VR chat just melted.
And it probably was that quick because, like you said, just statistically speaking, a lot of these are going to be Christmas presents. So it's going to be basically overnight. Everyone is opening these things, getting VR chat, and that in like a matter of days, a week, it's suddenly just overrun. It's like an infestation. That's actually kind of terrifying.
It was terrifying. It was like suddenly you just go on for your like daily hangouts with people, you know, you stop in, you go into a public for a little bit, and suddenly...
a lot busier in here. Wow, there's a lot more people.
Yeah.
Oh, these voices
in the
are
corner.
very high-pitched. These voices are saying a lot of,
At first, everything seemed normal. But then in the corner of the room, you just hear a little voice. Do you want to play Gorilla Tag? And I was like, what was that? What was that? Do you want to play Gorilla Tag? And I'm like, oh, what? what was that? And they'd run up to you and be like, do you want to play gorilla tag? And you're like, what gorilla, what is this? What what is this? What are you talking about? And it was just like, there were these children who wanted to play this free-to-play VR game that was also on Steam for free, that was recommended to people who just got that headset. And so they would go into VR chat and they would start asking people,
and try to find
can you go play gorilla tag? Because it was a game that was especially popular between the ages of like 8 to 15.
Oh no.
Or younger. And there was like a swarm of kids out of nowhere. And next thing you know, that is basically every public room, and all of VR chat is just nothing but children within a week of Christmas. And I was just like, oh god. And I was just like, I don't really want to be around them. Thankfully, I just started VTubing right after that. And I consider that something that saved me, because like, I still think now it is just like, yeah, it's squeaker chat. It's like, it's just full of children, and they're the annoying type of children too, because they're kids that are privileged.
Normally,
they're kids that are privileged enough that their parents will buy them a VR headset, and that is one of the worst types of children.
Even back in our day, we knew not to use like voice chat on Xbox Live or whatever.
It's like the worst kind of kid too, because like they're very entitled, a lot of them, and so they felt entitled to your attention. And you couldn't go into a room without having them to like have to be the center of attention, or them just like wanting to be cringe. And
they think they're cool because they use funny gamer words.
Yep. And of course, they're all using quests, so they also started to be that like no one could see anyone else's avatars, because you can only see quest avatars and stuff like that. And yeah, eventually it was just like, I just did not enjoy my time on there anymore, and it felt really sad as someone who spent a lot of my time in there. But the thing is, I considered VR chat like going to a club. Not in the weird way, but in the way you'd go in there, you'd hang out with people. Usually you'd drink. A lot of drinking was involved. It was a very adult activity of like hanging out, shooting the shit, drinking, like just hanging out with like the bros, you know? It was very chill. It was a very great time. And then that happened, and it was suddenly just like, who let these kids in here?
Yeah. And
this is just not the same place.
You can still do that, obviously, in private instances and whatnot, but it's not the same as going to a club and being able to just walk in and, you know, meet a stranger and like have a cool conversation, and maybe you will never meet them again, or maybe you'll become best friends, and you don't have quite that potential anymore.
Yeah, while headsets were absorbently expensive at the start, that was the barrier to entry, having an adult's income. And kids didn't have that. They just did not have that.
Yeah.
And so, like, it was all adults at the start. Basically, almost everyone you'd meet. If you saw someone under 18, it was almost shocking. Because you'd be like, whoa, you're on here and you're, like, not over 18. That's crazy. What the hell? And they usually also, you could kind of also spot out the kids back in the day because they would be in desktop. So you just kind of avoid the desktop users, or you just block them because they were random. They weren't that often. And, you know, you just kind of, you could ignore them, and then they started getting VR. But yeah, now VR chat is just like all of your old friends in private rooms, or like, I'm not gonna lie, right before and right around, like, when the kids started popping up, not only did people started like going into private rooms, people just started like getting into relationships with each other and not really wanting to hang out with other people. Like, a lot of people that I knew, like, just like got into relationships with each other instead because they were like adults, and they like eventually like did that. And then like you just like want to go hang out and then be like, oh no, I'm just gonna hang out with them, or I'm just gonna hang out in the private, and you couldn't just like stop around hanging out with people as much. You couldn't meet new people, so it's just gotta like dry out eventually.
At least VR chat already had that functionality that you were already able to get into private instances for things that it wasn't the case where, all right, everything is overrun and now they're sort of scrambling to set up this new feature where you're allowed to make private rooms for the first time, that it was already there and people were able to make that pivot pretty quickly.
it's good, but like there was something special about just
Yeah.
like hanging out in a random room drinking with some friends, and like someone really random would pop up and you just meet like someone that
And
was
you
like
just
really sick or had something to show off, and like or they'd like had worked on something. There was a lot of like really artistic people in the game who would like make a lot of stuff from scratch in Unity and would like show it off in game. Like we had people make like full animations and just like rock up and be like, look what I can do, and they'd press something and their model would like bring you into like a little bubble environment and would like play a full animation around you and go crazy. And it would be like you just stopped seeing that happen because publics were no longer available. People couldn't do that. People stopped really making content about it that wasn't in privates, and as people left the game, even the private communities that people would start making would start to dry up a little bit.
Yeah, because you don't have the influx and that just
you have
natural
people leave,
attrition.
but you don't have new people coming, and the groups would get smaller and more boring, and you kind of would join a private room and it would just be like 10 people sitting in front of a mirror, like 3 of them are drunk, the other ones are just muted. Or in a private DM, cuddling with their like partner in the corner, like talking in Discord instead of VR, and you just kind of walk past them awkwardly, like, okay, can you guys go to a private? And then you just you just kind of like wander over and you'd be like, hey, and they'd be like, oh hey, how's it going? And then talk for like 5 minutes and then you'd leave. It's just like, it's just not the same. It's just not the same as what it used to be. And like, I don't know. I think they honestly probably should have made 2 sections of VR chat, in my opinion. They really wanted to push the marketable family-friendly thing. I think Twitch does this as well. Or they like... Twitch does allow mature-rated streams, thankfully. Like, you'd be like, I don't want anyone under 18 in my streams. Like, you can choose that option on Twitch, at least. In VR chat, they were just like, we're not gonna give you that option. It would be nice if they just made rooms where you had to be like 16 or 18 plus. Just so, because most people don't want to be around all the kids in there. They can still do their own thing on their own. I would have been more than happy if they were like, we're gonna make VR chat that's like a safe version, like a Roblox version that's for kids.
Yeah.
And then everyone else can use the regular one, just like it used to be, and we can continue being all cool and just hanging out on our own.
I kind of wonder if we're
chose not
going
to
to
do
see
that.
that getting established. That fine, if VR chat's not going to do it, is some other company going to stand up something in VR?
Some people did try. There were 1 or 2 companies that would like pop up every now and then who did try to kind of do that. But the thing is, like, it's really hard to make people change what they're using. I mean, there's a good reason we're all still on Twitter.
Yeah, no, it's called the network effect.
Do we enjoy Twitter? No, we don't like Twitter how it is.
It's the same concept of for Twitter. It's why World of Warcraft, despite the countless WoW killers that were attempted over the years, it is it's called the network effect, and it is a product whose value is directly correlated to the number of people using that product. And the number of people using those things are so astronomically above everything else. No, I still call it Twitter. I refuse to call it anything else.
It is Twitter.
But
like, it's the same reason I see, like, every other week, people are like, I'm on Blue Sky, I'm on this, I'm on this. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm not gonna bother. Because, like, a week later, they come back.
Yeah, that
like, there's just not enough people doing that. And I don't want
it can happen,
I don't
but
want to do
it's
both.
very slow. That the overtaking of Facebook, because, you know, MySpace was at the top for a while, and then it was Facebook, and then slowly shifted to Twitter, and that you'll never get an overnight just blink of shift, because it's habits, it's routine. And the big thing that Threads and Blue Sky and Hive and all these others had the issues with was that they launched feature incomplete, and that they didn't have the ability to post videos, or that you had to have the codes, and that I understand that sometimes you need those invite codes because you're trying to because they're doing that in
they made
part,
it hard to join.
And it's just, there's other ones that just, you know, if you have a fumble at launch, you're doomed. And even if you have a perfect launch, you then need to keep it up for months on end. And the problem is, it only gets harder to overtake the top one, because, all right, Facebook overtaking MySpace. MySpace was big, but, you know, think about how big it was at that point. It's not actually that big in relativity. Facebook got
MySpace-
very, very big, and it took a
MySpace
while.
also was a bit weird because MySpace wasn't overly user friendly. Because I had MySpace back in the day. It wasn't too easy to find people on it.
Yeah.
It also like it was very clunky, it was very customizable, but I think it just wasn't very normie friendly and approachable as Facebook ended up being.
Yeah.
So I think I saw also MySpace just made some really weird changes towards the end with how they were trying to go towards like media production and promotion of like musicians and stuff instead, and like sold the rights to just some really confusing people. So I saw the downfall as like a very it's kind of like if Twitter one day was just like, we're gonna try to focus on like content like media and music instead and just get rid of heaps of other features slowly, and like but also never update things to keep up with current web changes. So the web pages were like, you know, 5 years out of date compared to everything else on the internet.
Yeah.
So MySpace just kind of killed themselves very easily doing all that stuff. So I saw them dying very quickly on. And then Facebook just kind of like did a lot of things right, especially since MySpace never had a feed necessarily, like Facebook made and Twitter made, and I think that especially.
Oh yeah.
Is
The ability
necessary
to
these days.
scroll is everything.
To give people ads like that is so efficient compared to other ways.
Hopefully we will see another platform establish itself, do things right, and slowly but surely overtake, but today is not that day.
Yeah, or the billionaire would get bored and sell it off again.
That'd be nice.
I would like that. I would like if they just like one day,
No complaints.
okay, I'm bored of it.
Yeah.
I'm okay with them selling it at any point. More than happy for them to sell it back to someone else, hopefully. That would be the best course of action, because it's much easier to fix what you've already got.
Yeah.
And it took me so long to grow to the size I am on Twitter, and I'm just not good at it even.
But speaking of the network effect, I know that you played World of Warcraft for a while.
I did, like around like the early like first time the Lich King came out.
Oh, wow.
Like-
Yeah, I remember
very,
the
very
trailer
early
for Wrath
on.
of the Lich King. Like I said, I never actually played it, but I was always sort of keeping up in the periphery because it was the big thing, and even if I didn't play it, that just being a gamer, I was excited to see what World of Warcraft was doing, and that they had this just gorgeous cinematic trailer for Wrath of the Lich King, which sort of set a new standard, not just for MMOs, but really for video game trailers as a whole, I believe.
They really did. Also, like, I think, like, back when, like, more, like, Ventrilo TeamSpeak kind of stuff kind of drove a lot of people back then playing it to keep it going. I mean, I kind of stopped playing very abruptly when when this stuff happened, but also I was quite young and stupid. So, like, I definitely know better now not to fall for people being like, you know, like the RuneScape joke of like, come here, drop your armor, and I'll be able to upgrade it for you. Like old scams like that of me just being like, oh, I'm on a website.
Did you hear about this hack of that all your items will turn into gold? All you need to do is drop everything on the ground and then hit Alt F4, and it will change everything into gold.
For me, it was a website, a slightly dodgy website, being like, log in with your WoW account here, and we can like give you some free in-game stuff. And I was just like, I want that. Logs in, doesn't log me in, page sends me somewhere else. I suddenly go, oh, maybe it's just gonna take a while, and so I just kind of like ignore it, and then I come back the next day.
Yeah.
Don't do that. I was very young as well. And in the end, I think it's for the best, because I feel like people who have played WoW like super long term, it's like a big investment of your life. MMOs in general take up like a lot of your time. Like, they're made to make you stay on them as long as possible, and for you to keep coming back for those dailies. And like having to have people rely on you for raids, and like, you have to be on at this time, you have to come on at this time every week. Like, they're really good at just making you just be there as much as you can. And like, you want to be there as much as you can. And, you know, I guess I got a bit of a release for that until I saw a trailer for a game called Terra. And Terra came out, and I signed up for the alpha. Didn't get into the alpha, but as soon as the beta came out, I did get into the beta. That game came out, and well, I was captivated very, very quickly. That game, especially when it came out, was like revolutionary. That was, in my opinion, one of the few games that had the potential to be a WoW killer, but just did things so wrong in so many ways. Like, the game was absolutely beautiful. Just gorgeous off the bat. Like, it was the most beautiful game I'd ever seen. Like, instantly. But the main takeaway was just, like, no tab-based targeting for combat. And, like, that stuff drains you. I distinctly, like, remember in WoW, it just kind of, like, it would get tiring and repetitive at some points. It's the same reason why I can't play, like, Final Fantasy Online. It's just because tab-based targeting just reminds me of WoW, and it just feels dated to me. Especially because I played Terra for a very long time. Like, I started playing Terra around when I started playing League, or whenever the beta came out. And, like, the combat in that game, still to this day, in my opinion, has not been replicated well. Like, especially once you got, like, there was, like, a proxy, like, thing to help with ping, that you could get. That wasn't officially with the game, but once you had that in, like, the latency fixes and stuff, especially as an Australian playing on NA, ow. So people keep clicking on the bonk. Like, when that game came out, that was like, I could never go back to a different MMO again. Like, within a day of playing that one, every other one I played just felt clunky and boring. And I still to this day am salty that it has shut down now because of the decisions that they made, but also with how they fostered the community and some of the people in the community. Terra had some questionable stuff around it, unfortunately. And, like, I think the community was really brutal towards the people publicizing it. Like, the localization team, because unfortunately in the end it was a Korean game that they were just localizing. They were not making a game. And so that limited things a lot, and I think if they had made it a bit more global naturally, like League did, expanding into different countries instead of leaving it to a small team, it could have gone alright. Like, it really could have expanded to be a lot better. But they just didn't have that, and no offense to the people in the community of Terra, but I kind of hate you guys a little bit, some of you, because you gave them so much stress. I felt so bad for the localization team for Terra, because, like, while a lot of people in the game were lovely, and I remember a lot of them dearly, a lot of them were brats and expected them to be perfect at all times. And it was sometimes, like, no matter what they announced, they could not do anything right by the community. No matter what they would announce in a forum, they could announce, like, hey guys, you're all getting a free mount this week, and it's like a great thing. And everyone is just like, oh, so you're making my mounts worthless, huh? Because you're giving everyone one for free. But what about the money I spent on one? How come mine isn't getting fixed? How come this one hasn't been fixed that's broken? It's just like... Yeah,
so you've been working on this and not all the bugs?
Yeah! It's like, these people aren't even making the game, you realize? They're just localizing it. Stop giving them stress. Like, oh my god. Like, they would just, like, get flamed no matter what they did. Like, they weren't perfect, but it was a small team. It was a very small localization team who weren't getting much payback from Korea for this game. And to see what the community did as they broke them down every single post, to the point where, like, they used to do, like, live streams for the art contests, and they just, like, kept swapping who they did for it. And, like, it was unfortunate because back in the day, especially with Terra, a lot of the announcements came in, like, the form of like forum posts
Yeah.
and stuff like that, which meant the announcements didn't come from the game. They came from this specific moderator or this specific person. And so what people would do is they would just specifically target that person. And if that person would get targeted very often and then they would appear on one of the live streams, you'd get the people just like just going at them. And I would just kind of like look in shock and horror of like, you guys gotta remember, these are still people. Like, I felt so bad for the team behind Terra that localized it. Because I still think that is a large reason that they kind of just gave up on it and kind of just pushed it to the EU team instead. It was the NA team that I think really was struggling. The EU team I heard was not as bad the way the community responded to them. But the NA team, oh my god, the stuff I would read in those posts in the forums that the people would make when announcements were posted or anything was happening.
The internet is wonderful. The internet is also terrible.
They were really terrible to them. And so the game, like, it just started to show cracks. Like, people, the game felt very broken up on the inside as well because it had really strong competitive elements in the game. Nice to hear in a Europe copy. Like, there was a very strong competitive side of the game and the PvP side of it. And that was really cool, but not the most balanced. And also the people on the PvP side especially. I was involved with them on and off, but I was definitely more of a PvE player. I preferred raiding, I preferred just like, you know, organizing cool stuff as groups and doing that side of it. But I would, you know, pop into the PvP if someone asked me to come by or if I just felt like it. Or if we were doing training as a guild for like the weekly events for like Velica. And the PvP people, well, I would equate them to being similar to like League players. I think there was a fair bit of crossover with Terra and League players because I think they advertised them on similar websites back in the day. And the PvP players in that game, oh my god, like they would be so mean. They would be so upset every single moment. The voice chat in the PvP like arena and stuff for the game, oh my god, the things I had heard.
Also, I'm so sorry. I just realized I had your Twitch link wrong. I'm gonna fix that because I copy-pasted from Twitter and it was Fuwa, and I think I accidentally I didn't copy-paste the and now I have it reversed. I'm dumb.
It's okay. My name wasn't available on Twitter because I used to have Twitter as just my old like artist name. And when I went to change it to what I used on Twitch, it was not available, so I had to get the next closest thing. So it's okay. I get that a lot. People are just like, oopsie. I also get people occasionally calling me Fuwa. And I'm just like, it's Fuwa, but that's okay.
It's close.
It's close. It's the closest I could get.
Yeah, it's rough to be a game developer and to be...
It is, especially these days. People are harsh.
There's a lot of folks that I know who have done work in just anything remotely involved with PR in nerdy spaces, whether it be gaming industry, anime industry, things like that, and it's just it can be really, really rough. And that a lot of people burn out really hard. And the folks that can get through it, there's some folks that are literally built different, that they're able to just power through. And there's others that are... people do not get treated the way they should be treated on the internet, unfortunately, sometimes. And it is... very sad to see, and I could fully believe that the team for Terra, with NA at least, eventually just sort of put their hands up and said, Korea, hey, we're not paid enough for this, and we understand that you can't pay us more than,
They were not paid that well, if I recall, as well, unfortunately.
And that they were just like, we quit. fine.
Yeah, they passed it to EU, and then EU also quit. It just happens. I think it's a job I could never do. Like, I mean, even these days, someone will release a game for free on Steam, and there can still be floods of negative reviews for a free game, and you're just like, you didn't pay for this. They're just giving you this as a gift. Can you really complain? And they're like, well, they need to fix this. They need to fix this. It's like, well, they don't actually have to, though. Like, it's in the end up to them. People can be very entitled on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The internet's great. The internet is also not great.
Like, I mean, I think you get it a bit everywhere. Like, no matter what. Like, nowhere is ever gonna be perfect. And in the end, we live in a society that needs that we live in a capitalist society. Like, companies and the investors are gonna keep pushing people for profits first, and like, as much as what people don't want it to be the case, nothing's gonna be perfectly fit for everyone because they still have to make a profit. They still have to survive. They still have to pay their mortgage.
Treat their employees better than the fans treat the employees.
Yeah. And sometimes companies are treated bad.
Oh, yes.
Employees are treated bad by the company and the community. But
if there was one feature that you could see taken from Terra and put into World of Warcraft,
the combat.
The combat.
Well, you couldn't put it in. The issue is, like, WoW is just not built on the engine that could do that. Like, I think I was always hoping one day. I mean, Terra was at one point going to release Terra 2, which I was hopeful would be the big change it needed. But that game never released. And honestly, like, I think a larger big name company just has to come out with something that's very similar and engaging in that way that their combat was. Like, their combat, still to this day, I've just never had compared to anything. I think the only thing I would compare the combat in Terra 2 is, like, maybe a little bit like the feeling when you're playing, like, Monster Hunter. Like, the Monster Hunter combat can feel a little bit similar to the Terra combat, which is, like, very satisfying. But the system in Terra was, like, the combat didn't just feel good for the DPS, like, as if you were fighting in Monster Hunter, if people have played that to compare. Like, even if you're playing a tank or a healing class, you still got that really intense high movement combat action. And that was just so different than any other games were doing. Like, no matter what the class, it all felt super engaging, yeah. So if a game can just do that, where, like, every class feels fun, and you don't feel stressed to have to be the tank, you genuinely enjoy it, then, you know, maybe there's potential. Because the combat was just it's really hard to beat. Like, if a massive game, heck, if even just, like, Final Fantasy just released their next online game with live action combat instead of tab-based targeting, that would probably just do it. Because, like, it's just not the same just watching you just watch your cooldowns. You just watch your cooldowns the entire time and press button.
The few times I
and try to
tried to
min-max
get into
the
World of
numbers.
Warcraft or others, that
yeah.
I just found myself looking at the cooldown at the hotkey bar of just, like, sort of timing it, and that as someone who played music, that I almost got into, like, a rhythm of it, and it was like, that's
like, it's okay, but it gets bored fast.
Yeah.
And it's
that's
draining.
definitely why you need a play group. That it's one thing if you're coordinating with others and doing that, and that there's much more emotion, but when it's just PvE single player in those games, I think that's why none of them ever really stuck for me.
Yeah, like, Terra was particularly good at making, like, no matter what you were really doing, like, it felt good. And yeah, basically every class had, like, really nice combo chaining, whereas, like, you weren't necessarily watching the cooldown, but you naturally knew that if you did, you know, this move into this move into this move, that one was probably going to come up soon, which you can naturally do that, and then have, like, a couple of different options you could kind of path between. And, like, it felt so natural. And I think that's like a lot of games have tried to replicate Terra. You know, you've had like Black Desert Online and a couple of others where they've tried to make a similar feeling thing, but they just have not gotten it right. And I think it just needs to be like a studio that's like really well funded, that can just make that again. But at the end of the day, I don't think that MMOs are a very profitable market, especially when a lot of people expect them to be free to play. And server hosting and stuff like that is so expensive as an investment standpoint.
I think that we are past the point
on servers
of a proper WoW killer ever being able to exist. I very much
Like,
agree
when
that just the cost to set something up, and then for the exact reasons like we explained with social media, getting people to change. That, you know, all right, I've invested this much time and money into World of Warcraft or into Final Fantasy XIV, and all my friends are here. It's the same reason why, you know, all those WoW killers never actually took, and it's only becoming more expensive to do so because the demands, the infrastructure, the development costs are only going up. So,
like, as well as
it would have to be an established company.
Tab-based targeting on a server level is way simpler to be able to do than just like regular AoE attacks and aiming and stuff like that. Like, for it to send a lot more of that information costs a lot more money, and not that they're cheaping out, but like the tab-based targeting and the WoW model of those kinds of games, if you're gonna make one like Final Fantasy, it's a lot cheaper and easier to develop that system, and they don't really need to change it because people are doing it anyway.
Yeah.
People are already playing it, so they don't have to do anything more interesting. Which is why Terra was such a risk and such a shame, but, you know, it happens. And there's a lot of other stuff, and I don't even know if I'd had time for an MMO these days as an adult.
Like, I'm actually just now starting to get more free time, and I've been considering, okay, what do I want to do with that free time? And one of the things I've been considering is finally getting into FF14. I haven't taken the plunge yet, but I've been eyeing it increasingly over the past couple weeks. Of just, it's been a long time since I've really lost myself in a game, and that since I never really grew up with a MMO, but now I have a lot of friends who I know play FF14, that I kind of want to have that experience.
Like, I've fallen into a lot of games, but I haven't felt, especially multiplayer games, I haven't felt the pull in many new games or games that are currently popular. Especially a lot of like shooters and stuff. I've never really gotten into a huge amount, like outside of like Team Fortress, but that was a long time ago. Like Overwatch and Valorant and stuff. Like, they're fun, they're cool to do occasionally, but I just can't get into them. I never liked Apex. I'm especially bad at Apex.
Oh, I'm terrible
I
at shooters.
don't want to be competitive all the time. I like PvE stuff. I like being able to have chill modes. But I think multiplayer games just feel a bit more taxing than they used to be when I was like younger.
Yeah,
that's... It was more for fun back in the day. Now they're very profit driven.
Yeah. Well, I know it's starting to get late. Well, I shouldn't say it's starting to get late. We started late for you, Fuwa. It was 1 a.m. for you.
That's okay.
And that was already after a stream, but I have just a couple things to wrap things up. And one was a question that I hadn't initially planned to ask, but near the end of your stream, before you rated in, there was something mentioned in chat. And initially you said that you were going to ask me, and you haven't, so now I will ask you. What is the pile?
I'll get the image. Right, the pile. I don't know if you've heard about a little white cloud dog named Cinnamoroll.
I certainly am familiar with Cinnamon Roll, and I know what it is, and based on that alone, because I had heard that much context on your stream, it was mentioned alongside Miku. So I'm not sure if this is a pile of Cinnamon Roll alone with Miku, or if it's both, if it's other plushies, if there's Beanie Babies in here, because that was mentioned.
This
Oh,
is
wait,
the
no, because
pile.
no, your neighbor had Beanie Babies. You didn't. Oh, yes, I've seen that on Twitter, but I'm going to share
fact,
here
it's
because
it's actually grown quite a bit even since that photo. There's like an extra like 5 or 6 on there now, and it's growing every day. And
they're multiplying.
I started fixating on cinnamon roll partially as a joke at first. I'm really good at really getting into things that I start as a joke. It's like a problem.
Sea fishing.
It was fishing as well. Like I fixate on things really easily, and yeah, like basically all of that entire pile, except for, wait, is it even? No, it's that entire pile actually is less than a year old.
Oh, that escalated quickly.
Yep. That's when the pile becomes a little more scary. When you're like, hold on a minute, this is not like accumulating over. No, this is like a year or less times accumulation. This is the beginning.
I'm counting. There's like about 25 here, I think. They kind of blend into each other. It's sort of difficult to tell.
I believe I've counted before, but there's also a lot of new ones like that I've got. Let me see if I can count like a rough estimate right behind me.
Yeah, there's that. You know, how many triangles are in this picture? How many cinnamon rolls are in this picture?
There's about 40.
So how did all this happen so fast? Were these bought on Throne? Did you find them at conventions or go to different websites?
So I've always had an interest in Sanrio stuff.
Sanrio does make very cute things.
Yes. When I was a little kid, I had a game and it was called Hello Kitty Roller Rescue for the PlayStation 2. And that game like changed my life. It's genuinely very fun. It was like a game where you played as like a little magical girl and you like attacked these like funny square like enemies that came from space, and it had like really genuinely enticing battles and scenes and like mechanics. It was genuinely very good, which was really random for the fact that it was a Hello Kitty game. And Cinnamon Roll back then didn't really exist, but I've always enjoyed Sanrio characters. I definitely also especially like always liked the cat characters, especially like Hello Kitty was like my big thing for a long time. Eventually, this would lead to me like having a couple of Sanrio items. Eventually, like mostly Hello
Just a
Kitty
few.
stuff. And one day, I kind of knew about them, and I was watching another VTuber actually, and she started going on about him, and it was Iron Mouse.
Yep, and I was going to say
where this goes.
The most prolific fan of Cinnamon Roll, certainly in the VTuber community, would be Iron Mouse.
She introduced me to him more, and it was those eyes. It was those damn eyes. within like at first I was just like, oh, I mean they're pretty cute, and first I got this like ice cream themed like squishmallow one of them like about a year ago, and I was just like, well, this one's really cute compared to the other ones. Why do I like this one so much? And then I put another one of him on Throne, and eventually someone got it for me, and I put them next to each other, and I'm just like, ooh, this feels good. I like this.
They seem so happy together. What if there were
and
more?
I got 1 or 2 of them myself, and then I would start doing art goals where I draw some stuff to someone to be able to buy one. And then I started putting more of them on Throne. And then I put the big one on Throne, and someone got it, and I lost my mind when I got him, and I cuddled him, and I was like
it is
crying.
a very like that
the
looks
Mega
so
Build-A-Bear
soft.
one. And they do. They're like all of them are so soft, but he's just something about him. And then I watched the like animations for them because I'd seen some of Sanrio animations in the past, like Charmy Kitty. Charmy Kitty is like one of my favorite animations that they've made. And then I watched like the original animation for Cinnamoroll, and that was the no turning back stand. Like that was the no turning back point. After that, because like there's an anime for them, and my brain just like ticked, and then you know, I accumulated quite a bit of them through like some sponsorships with like a claw machine sponsorship and stuff, so I got to win some of them. Through Tokyo Treat and Sakurgo, like I got a couple because of Yume twins through them. And then I went back to Japan and I got COVID. And I needed something to vent.
And well, you're not going out spending money on different things, like, you know, you're not going to events or I'm sure some of the travel.
I wasn't able to do a
things.
lot of stuff in Japan.
So
yeah.
that meant, well, you had that money that you had probably budgeted, and well, you planned to spend it anyways. So well, might as well get something.
And it was very cheap there. They were very cheap over there, and like I'd already had a reasonable accumulation of them before I went to Japan, but the amount I brought back was pretty significant. And also during the subathon as well, almost every plush I put on Throne during the subathon was a Cinnamoroll. And we started the pile, and the pile started growing, and I went to Japan, and then I also added to the pile, and then the pile started struggling. The pile no longer stood up and started toppling over. Then there was also a couple of other items that I found in Japan, and I was just like, well, it's not gonna go on the pile. What else could I do to bring more Cinnamoroll in my life, because I really enjoyed looking at this little puppy. So I turned to my side at one point before going to Japan, and I'm just like, you know, there's one or two items that I have in my bathroom that are Sanrio themed already. And that's kind of where part 2 started. Because I have an entirely Cinnamoroll themed bathroom. Again, this is a recent occurrence because I've just started fixating them. And that's what makes it so scary, because
if this is 1 year, Fuwa, what will this be in even another year's time?
Oh, it's gonna be... I mean, let me...
Please tell me you've at least once just sort of jumped into the pile.
Once. Before I moved it up on top of a shelf. Because the image that I sent you was on top of one of those like IKEA cube shelves. But at one point it was in the ground, but then I didn't like that my cats kept getting fur all over it.
Oh, yeah,
Here's some images from my bathroom.
That is a very cute setup.
Now, it has grown a little bit since these photos as well. But I've got the bin. I've got a little storage box next to the bathroom. My air purifier has a little Cinnamoroll sticker on it. It's kind of Miku Cinnamoroll because I've got a giant Miku banner in there too. And then most of the stuff on the counter in the close-up photo is also Cinnamoroll, or has a ton of little collectible Cinnamoroll scattered everywhere. And now I've also got like a soap pump that is now Cinnamoroll themed. That's an update since then.
Now you're getting functional stuff. This is good. You need to have all that. You have the little Q-tip holder and stuff. So these are items that you would naturally want to have anyways. They're practical. And you just found ones that look even cuter than normal.
Yeah, it's also like it's a place I can spread it out to that isn't the rest of the house that I have to share with people. But there is, it's not my, this is a recent obsession. Would you like to know the impacts of a more long-term obsession?
I'm terrified, yes.
I have been collecting anime figures for just over 10 years. And to be fair, I wasn't able to afford to get many for a while. But I've traded here and there and had a pretty steady influx of them over the years. And actually, with a shipment that I'm getting in a week's time, I am hitting a pretty big milestone with the amount that I have.
Now, here's the
Now,
thing.
this
You
doesn't
say
include
a
miniatures.
shipment. It's not even, oh, I'm getting another.
Well,
it is a shipment implying multiple.
I got a sponsor, like, just over a week ago called Syndical, and I love them because they gave me $300 to get used figures on their website.
They know they're going to make that investment back.
I think they might have already, but like, I mean, I'll be honest, they're probably gonna make it back from me alone just by getting me in on it. Even in the first like week, I put another $50 in it just to be able to correct one of my orders in there to get a larger thing, because what I got was sold out. So I was like, well, instead I want to get this, but this costs $50 more, so I'm gonna put in $50 to get this instead.
That's how it starts.
In my current collection of figures, I have 89. This is regular figures, not including miniatures. Miniatures would be probably in excess of like at least 150. But once my next shipment comes through from them, plus I've got a couple of pre-orders in place, I on total have 19 currently ordered. In total with my pre-orders and the shipment from Syndical. So I will have an excess of about 116 once everything ships, but that is not including miniatures because I have a substantial collection of a company called what are they called again? Pop Mart. If you've ever heard of Pop Mart, they make us a series of figures called Azuna. It's like a combination with like a Japanese artist, and I have almost every set of their miniatures from that artist, which means in total I have basically like 100 of those as well.
Now, first off, one thing that we've learned here, folks, if you're listening, buy used, because $300 is getting you 19 more figures.
Minus the pre-orders, I think it's getting me 15. Because I have 4 figures on pre-order.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah. One of the biggest things I got in my order that I'm extremely excited about. Let me actually send you a photo because I think this is something you might also appreciate that I got because it's VTuber related. When I was in Japan, I got one of the HoloLive Relax Time figures. And I really liked it. I got my Oshi in HoloLive, which is Hachima. I love Hachima so much. And I came across a listing on Syndical. And it just so happened to be... This is the one I put a little bit of extra money in to get the set. It's every single other figure except one of the Relax Time figures, except Hachima. Because I already have her, it was perfect. So basically overnight I will have like every single HoloLive of a Relax Time figure except for one because I still have to get who do I have to get? I have to get one more after getting these ones. But yeah, I'm extremely excited to get this one especially. Because you know, they're all really great. And I love them all. And obviously any other Relax Time, you know, and VTuber stuff in general is definitely, you know, an easy obsession when you are one and they're your peers. But yeah, that's a large bit of the shipment, and the rest is like Hatsune Miku, and one is Elena from Wandering Witch Elena.
Ooh, that was a good one. I hope they make season 2.
Yeah.
I'm
getting
really
the cat-made
that
figure
one.
of that one. It's like my favorite figure of her that I've been trying to hunt down for ages. Let me get like a quick image of it. It's this one outfit where she's a cat maid. It's so good. It's so good. I've wanted it for so long. It's such a good one. The dress is textured. I'm very into figures. So I have like I finally made a My Figure Collection account and have it like all detailed with like photos and all the ones that I own archived and like registered on there. I used to actually trade and like sell figures like via auctions on eBay and stuff. So I would buy like bulk auctions of figures and then like
Sell
either
the ones you
repair
don't
them or
want
sell them off to
pay
Westerners.
for the ones that you do want.
Yeah, so I'd keep the ones I like, and then I would sell or repair or take better photos and repost figures to like, and then sell them to Western countries because
There you
I
go.
could buy them bulk from Japan very cheap.
Yeah.
And that's kind of I managed to like make a profit on it back when I used to trade them, but it was largely like cheaper prize figures, and now I actually have like really nice ones, and I'm mostly just keeping ones I really like or really am passionate about now, instead of just anything I could get my hands on, which was in the past.
Do you keep them in glass cases? Do you have shelves? Do you have a
I do
system, or are they
have
just
case.
out and about?
I have many shelves. Let me see if I have a. I know I posted one recently. Let me show you just 2 photos of my
While you get that, do you remember what
collections.
the first figure you ever owned was?
Yes, it is a figure from Two Heart 2. I believe, what is her name? It's actually a figure that's worth a pretty substantial amount of money now.
While she's looking for that, I realize I haven't thanked followers in a while. It was there. Okay. Linkster66, Eric93, Real Jewel Ken, Dax008, Mysterious Figure. I'll look a bunch of those. Thad20, Kindred Souls, Blurpmerp, Alpha Mike 89, and the Little Cherry Milk Cat. Thank you for the follows.
Yeah, I have a figure that I got on Gumtree, of course, of all places, of Lucy from Two Heart 2, which is like a PlayStation 2 like visual novel. I've got this figure here, which actually I got it a very long time ago, back in around like 2011, maybe. I think I would say. That was my first ever figure that I came across on Gumtree, and now, even though I spent like 15 AUD in 2011 for it, it's actually worth like a fair few $100s now, because it's very old and very well made and very sought after. And I will cherish it forever. I do treasure it dearly. That's kind of how it started. So it has been for quite a many number of years. There's a couple of photos of my collections. Let me get the. Though again, these are a little bit out of date because I have, of course,
Gotten more.
moved stuff around and accumulated a couple more things. I actually do have a figure from Terra, which I treasure dearly. But here is a couple of my images of stuff that has overflowed into the rest of the house. Because I can't keep everything in my office and my bedroom. Because there's just not enough space. So this is the stuff that has managed to spread out amongst everything else in the house. To the point where I do have several anime figures in the kitchen, on top of the microwave, in a shelf in the kitchen, inside the pantry.
Inside the pantry?
Yes, I have a Sonicle inside my pantry. So when you open the door, you see just like Sonicle's kahunas in your face, and you're like, "Hello, I'm just here to get some tea," and then you get the tea. But I'd also have one figure in my kitchen that is a functional tea container that someone got me on Throne, and I'm actually, one of the figures I have on pre-order is the matching figure for that, which is a teapot that is an anime figure displayed in a teapot, but if you take it out, it's a functional teapot.
Ooh.
There's getting some functionality in my figures as well for more practical things as well, but I do have a fairly substantial collection, and these photos are a little out of date, so there's been definitely some additions since these were taken. The Azura figures are mostly at the bottom of the big glass case, but also I do have another glass case. But I don't have any recent photos of that since I've moved stuff around. And then I also have like some stuff in my office, this room as well. I also have a collection that I forgot to take a photo of at some point. Actually, I have a little collection of Kirby related items too.
Ooh, I do
I
like
just,
me some Kirby.
I'm really bad at slowing and pacing myself when I get into things. But also, I am blessed to have like one of the most generous and amazing and indulgent communities I could ever ask for, who definitely see me get into stuff and are just like, well, you want that? Well, I'm gonna help you get it. So we can make you happy. And I'm just like, you guys indulge my habits of obsessing over things 100%, and I love it so much. And it's,
Oh, I actually see that first
like,
figure here in this picture on
yeah,
the right.
it's in there. Yeah. Yeah, there it is. My really old Lucy figure. Like, I'll be honest, I like to say very often that about 98% of everything that I own, including the clothes on my back, like the clothes that I'm wearing right now, literally, I didn't own my computer, my equipment, my house, everything in my life, 98% of it, I did not own 2 to 3 years ago when I started VTubing. I had basically nothing. Like, I had a very minimal lifestyle, except for like one figure shelf of anime figures of a couple figures I'd still had. Outside of that, I didn't have much. I didn't have almost everything that I have now, and that is entirely because of my community. Not only like being able to make it financially possible for me to ever get anything, like a lot of my stuff and almost everything in these photos even was like gifts from them, which has become absolutely crazy after like, you know, like 3+ years of it. Basically all of it's been gifts, and that's crazy. Like, that's incredibly bonkers and makes almost no sense to me. And then everything else everything else I got on my trips to Japan, or like managed to get secondhand. So like, it's been absolutely crazy to me that that's like a thing. I guess a lot of gifts have like accumulated over time, I guess. And I'm you know, since they're here, I can't help but to be like, this kind of because of you guys. So thank you.
Good job, folks.
Like, this is definitely mostly them. Otherwise, I would probably still be in like a dodgy rental apartment I could barely do anything with or make rent every week. And I would just not have that much stuff. I would kind of just have, because I had to move a lot, I would just have like the amount of stuff I could fit in the back of a car, and that's kind of all I was allowed to have. And all my furniture came with the rentals and stuff like that. No, that's not the case anymore, and that's crazy. Like, they even bought like my bed, and like it's like, it's really crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It's like surreal. Almost every single day I wake up, I'm like in disbelief.
But you've worked really hard to get where you are, Fuwa. That do give yourself some credit. Certainly, the thanks and credit that the community is due as well. Absolutely, but you know, you did this.
Sometimes I do worry that like I don't deserve as much as people have been kind to me, but I just want to I want to do everything that I can to make it feel worth it for people. But
Well, judging by this, I
want
think you're
people to be
succeeding
proud
in
of
that.
me. I want people to be proud and think that they're not that I want to be like, I hope that they think they're getting their money's worth. I need to make sure I'm drilling every drop out of me that I can have a value and bring things to the table, so they don't think that they're getting ripped off. But I do know that like people have been enormously kind out of their own choice, and I'm very thankful for that, and I want to just keep working really hard.
Well, I know I said I was gonna wrap things up, and then we wound up on a good 20-minute tangent.
Sorry.
No,
I'm really
I'm
good at tangents.
Well,
Though you
that's
found
what
that
it's for.
last
It is a
night.
talk show.
Like, we ended the pre-interview. It was supposed to be like 30 minutes, and then we just started talking about
Oh,
like
yeah.
other VTubers, and we went on for so
And anytime the
long.
pre-interview runs long, it's always a good sign that
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm more worried about you, Fuwa, and I know, obviously, we'll get all the subathons and everything. I know you know how to take care of yourself, so I'm not that worried. But at the same time, I don't want to entirely obliterate your sleep schedule. Only partially.
It's okay. I did wake up at like 7 p.m. So I was a little bit prepared, so it's okay. Don't
But
stress too much. But also,
speaking
I won't
of
keep you around too
subathons,
long.
you
as
have
well.
one coming up. Not an
Mhm.
uncapped, but a
Not
24-hour
not
birthday.
a full one. Yeah, I do have a small one organized for my birthday next week, and this is mostly to recoup some of the losses because I miscalculated the shipping on the plushie cost by about $500. But also I am still the only person paying for most stuff at the current moment in my living situation because of the loss of my friend's job, and like it's not been the easiest year on me, and I don't want to have to sacrifice stuff like the album and stuff that we've worked towards. So I'm just doing a small thing where mostly I just hope it's a good time. We can celebrate my birthday together and do some stuff, and I've got like a small merch drop happening on the day, and we're just in general just gonna have a good time. I mostly want to have a good time. If we make back a little bit, so I can put back a little bit and be under less pressure to like make bills at the moment, that would be great. But at the same time,
I think it's going to
wanna
be a
mostly have
very good
time,
birthday.
you know? I want to have fun and decorate a cake with people, especially since I've had to take time off recently. I really look forward to honestly just spending a bunch more time, even just for a day with everyone. That'd be really cool.
Well, I'm definitely
Yeah,
looking
that's on the
forward to
28th.
it. Yeah. So I have two last questions. They're the ones that I asked all my guests. And the first is, do you have any goals for the rest of the year? That you mentioned that the
Yes.
album's probably not going to be until 25. So
The
what do you
full
hope to
album-
get for this year?
The full album isn't releasing until probably around next year, just because I want to get a lot of stuff done for it. Which is 5 originals is my goal, and then a couple of covers and remixes of songs in there as well as hopefully 1 or 2 remixes of the original songs as well. That's something I really want to help get some people to produce those, because that's really fun. I like seeing people spin on songs like remixes. That's something I'm really passionate about. But in the short term, I am hoping to have at least one of the songs releasing this year. Hopefully around August. That's what I'm already like starting to work on. And that one like is the only one that I think the producer that I'm working with will be able to like make the bass of the song, because I like can play a little bit of instruments, but I don't know how to use any of those programs where you actually make the music. I don't know how to do those. But I can come up with a tune and I can give that to someone, and I can write lyrics and I can sing it. But I need someone to mix it and produce it for me. It's the first one that I think will be able to be in the short term. Other ones are going to take a long process because everyone has queues and waiting lists, and you know, it's a lot of back and forth. But I should hopefully have the first song out by August, and it's going to be something that's a little bit different that I think people are going to be excited for. It's got a little bit of a kick to it. And it's not too similar to the last song I released. It's gonna be a little more interesting, a bit different than a lot of people release, I think. So it's gonna be very, very exciting. I'm super excited about the genre we're going into with it. Other things, so we got the Subathon, we got that. I got some merch coming up. I have a chibi model debut on my during my birthday as well. I'm not going to throat singing song. Short term. I obviously I'm continuing to work really hard with sponsors and getting new sponsors. We've obviously just had some really crazy ones. Recently we announced the Humble Bundle sponsorship, as well as Syndico and Clip Studio. Those have been absolutely amazing to get to work with them. Gamer Subs obviously still continuing to work with them. Have some, yeah, and we got some giveaways we're doing with them on my birthday as well. They're giving away a bunch of codes for some Gamer Subs cash if you want to buy some stuff for free. What is another short-term thing? The plushies just shipped out. People are getting them soon. Oh yeah, this is something I haven't said yet that I was gonna save for this for anyone that's stuck around as a bit of a heads up. A bit of exclusive. I cracked some numbers. Not cracked numbers. I crunched some numbers, and it turns out we are going to have a handful of extra plushies available after I've shipped all of them out. Turns out I have about 4. I will be giving away 2 more of my plushies on my birthday, as well as auctioning off the final 2 for charity on the day as well.
Ooh, very fun.
That's a spoiler. That's a spoiler. But for anyone that missed out on the plushie orders back then, you will have opportunities not only to win one, but I would like to finally do a little bit more charity stuff, and I will be auctioning off 2 signed plushies around my birthday as well. I'm not sure if we'll have exactly enough time on the day, but I will be announcing it on the day at least. But I figured I'd sneak that at the end of this. Because I know a lot of people have been asking, will there be more plushies? No, but there are a very small few left, and I would like to do the best I can with them to provide them to those who still wish to get one that didn't manage to on the day.
Yeah, that sounds so cool.
I'll also be including some extra stuff with the charity ones that auction off especially.
Let me know when the charity thing happens. I have a standing offer of some things that I offer guests, and that I will be sure to hype that up, share those posts that I have my charity marathon every January for my anniversary, which you'll be getting the invite to now that you've been here. And do you actually know which cause that's going to be for? Is that part of, I know VTuber SummerSlam just started?
I'm still trying to pick who the plushie one is going to. I'm very tempted to go with the local cat shelter that I've fundraised once before in the past for, but also it's the local one that I used to foster for. And they're constantly struggling. I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to be going with them. So I'll probably be going towards Cat Haven, the plushies.
Yeah, and that sounds very appropriate given, well, everything we've been discussing today.
I'm the cat plushies in the end, and I know them very well, so I can't. I tend to pick charities that are very close to me and that I've got personal experiences with, like Headspace or Cat Haven, or just specific causes that I've either been involved in or understand how they work behind the scenes, and I truly know that they deserve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Definitely looking forward to that. And the last question that I ask all my guests is, what does being a VTuber mean to you? And that's not what does it mean to be a VTuber, but different people get different things from VTubing. I've had folks say it lets me get in touch with my inner child, lets me be someone I can't be in real life. Others have said it's a tool for creativity. It lets me do these things that I couldn't do as a face cam streamer, and I love being an anime character, but I don't necessarily connect with it on a deep emotional level. I don't see myself as this character, that this is a character that I love playing, but I do not necessarily see myself as them, and that there's no wrong way to be a VTuber, but there's that span and there's things even beyond that. So for you, Fuwa, what does being a VTuber mean to you?
How did I get here?
That's a good question.
It's for me, it's confusing most of the time. I feel I'm still in the space of everything happened very quickly, and it felt like almost overnight my life changed. I would say I'm confused, a little bit scared, but very happy. And mostly, I don't know why people want to listen to me ramble. And I don't really know why y'all are here, but I like it. So thank you, and please don't leave me alone. I will cry. I think, honestly, it's I'm not a social person. I'm just not a naturally social person. Especially in real life. So this has been, something that I didn't expect to work out, let alone enjoy. And I didn't think that I would be able to have the capacity to be around people so often and talk to people so often. So it's kind of been nice. And the dementia's setting in. Yeah, I gotta go back to the retirement home. I'm a very, very, very old VTuber here. But yeah, VTubing has just been a massive surprise. Ow, oh, I blue screened. VTubing is just like confusing to me, honestly. I still have absolutely no idea what I'm doing and guessing every single day, but I'm learning. I'm learning every day. And I don't really know why
Seems
people
like
are
you've
here
made some good
sometimes, but I'm
guesses,
glad. I'm glad though. And I just like, I'm just happy that like it's something I'm able to do, and I guess I would describe it life-changing more than anything.
Well, I'm very glad
It's
that you found
yeah.
VTubing, and I'm so glad that you were able to take time out to be here today.
I'm glad I could be here, and thank you for being patient, since this was definitely
Oh,
meant to
no.
happen months ago.
You're busy.
But
You've got a
I'm
lot of
happy that
stuff.
I'm happy I gotta be a episode 115. That's
Yeah,
a very
good
very
number.
special one to get. I'm very
Mhm.
lucky to have that.
Yeah. And the actual last question is, who would you like us to raid?
Oh, I get a pig.
Yes, you do.
Oh,
And while she
okay.
looks around for options, thank you to Wolfie Walker and Marvin's 010, Marsvin 010, gotta pronounce that right. Thank you so much for the follows. Welcome on in. And if for some crazy reason you are not already following Fuwa, there we go. Be sure
What?
to follow her here on Twitch and on Twitter and other places. Check out all her stuff. See her upcoming birthday-a-thon on the 28th. Now, that would be the 28th in Australia, so adjust for your time zone accordingly. But
And also, you guys should follow
yes.
VTuber Talk as well. If you haven't, click it now.
Yes,
Click
and
it
if you
now. Hit it,
enjoy
hit it,
that
hit
I
it.
do these, I usually do them about once a week. I've actually been off for the past month or so, just busy stuff IRL, all good stuff for sure. But getting back in the swing of things, hopefully I will have actually 2 other shows this week that need to finalize one, but if it all works out, I'm going to have another one hopefully in a couple days, and then another one sort of back-to-back. So I guess making up for lost time that I always try to schedule around my guests, so I can't offer consistency. I usually end up in the evenings for the US, but it was more midday for me here, and I just make things work. I've had folks from Europe, US, everywhere around, and time zones are fun. By which I mean,
They
oh gosh,
are.
time zones are such a headache. But we make it work, and that's what matters. So
Yeah.
hopefully you all had fun, and Fuwa, I hope you had fun too, because I certainly did.
I did. I've had a lot of fun. Thank you for inviting me to do this. I was incredibly nervous, but I'm very happy.
The pleasure's all mine, and we're going to be raiding into Pastel Coffee. So be sure to let them know that Fuwa sent you. And until next time, I'm Jay. This is VTuber Talk. Thank you all once again, and have a great rest of your day. I'll see you all next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.